The morning sun spilled through the tall windows of the Ellison Manor study, casting long, golden stripes across the dark hardwood floors. The scent of freshly brewed coffee mingled with faint cedar from the books lining the shelves, creating a strangely grounding atmosphere despite the storm of activity that had been swirling around the house all morning. I sat at the massive mahogany desk, my laptop open and a sheaf of printed floor plans spread before me. Every detail of the third branch of Noor's Latte and Brew demanded precision traffic flow, barista stations, display shelving, lighting angles, seating arrangements. I absently traced a line of the floor plan with my finger, imagining the warm sunlight streaming across the polished tables, the gentle hum of espresso machines, the aroma of freshly baked pastries. This branch wasn't just a café, it was my vision of independence, a tangible piece of all the dreams I had worked for. Miss Bayender? The soft voice of the architect pulled me from my thoughts. I looked up to see Mr. Thomas, clipboard in hand, his glasses slightly sliding down his nose. Behind him, Ms. Rivera adjusted her tablet, her sharp eyes scanning the floor plan like she could see the finished branch in her mind. "Good morning," I said, forcing myself to sound more confident than I felt. I swallowed the small knot of nerves in my stomach. "Thank you for coming so early." "We wouldn't miss it," Mr. Thomas replied with a smile, though it was professional rather than warm. "We've reviewed the initial proposal and brought some concepts for discussion." I nodded, gesturing toward the desk. "Please, have a seat. I've also sketched a few ideas based on foot traffic studies and my own vision for workflow efficiency." As they settled, I noticed Ethan leaning against the doorway, arms crossed, his presence simultaneously grounding and slightly intimidating. He didn't say anything, just watched me with that familiar, calm intensity that made me feel seen in a way no one else ever could. Even in a room full of professionals, his gaze felt like it belonged only to me. "All right," I began, taking a deep breath. "I want this branch to feel like an extension of the original café, warm, inviting, moderate but also efficient. The layout needs to facilitate smooth movement for both staff and customers, and I want every seat to have good lighting and clear sight lines for the displays." Miss Rivera nodded, tapping her tablet. "We've adjusted the counter area to allow 2 baristas to work simultaneously without interference, and the display cases are angled to catch natural light while being easily accessible." I leaned forward, my heart pounding with a mixture of excitement and the natural tension of having my ideas scrutinized. "Perfect. But the seating arrangement here," I pointed at a section of the plan, "needs to account for peak hours. I want at least 6 seats that can accommodate solo guests comfortably with power outlets and small tables for laptops." Mr. Thomas scribbled notes quickly. "We can integrate plug-in stations subtly into the armrests. It won't interfere with the aesthetics." I smiled, pleased. Exactly what I was thinking. The discussion continued, technical jargon flying back and forth, ideas being evaluated and adjusted on the fly. I found myself fully in my element, explaining latte bar ergonomics, lighting angles, and customer flow patterns. Occasionally, my voice softened when I gestured to particular sections, imagining the cafe alive with energy, the faint hiss of milk steaming, the soft clinking of cups, the subtle murmur of conversation. Ethan, still leaning against the doorway, occasionally offered small suggestions more about logistics than design. "Make sure the storage area has easy access from the kitchen," he said at one point. "You'll want it functional for deliveries without disrupting customer space." I blinked at him, heart skipping. "You thought about that?" "Of course," he murmured, voice low. "You can't have efficiency without flow. I've watched you work enough to know how important it is." My cheeks flushed, though I kept my tone professional. "Thank you. That's exactly why I wanted his input, realistic insight into operational needs." As the meeting progressed, I found myself weaving together my vision with their professional expertise. Every suggestion they made, I considered carefully, asking questions and offering counterpoints when needed. I wasn't just a client, I was a creator, a leader, someone responsible for turning ideas into reality. Hours slipped by, the morning sun rising higher, spilling brighter over the study's polished surfaces. By midday, we had a rough draft of the final floor plan and interior design. Miss Rivera pulled up a 3D render on her tablet, rotating the model slowly. It looks like this branch will feel like a natural extension of your first café, Miss Bayender, she said, eyes glinting with pride. I leaned forward, taking in the render, the soft pastel walls, warm lighting, carefully positioned display cases, ergonomic barista stations. I could almost hear the espresso machines hiss and smell the freshly ground coffee beans. It's perfect, I whispered, more to myself than to anyone else. Ethan, finally moving from the doorway, stepped closer, resting a hand lightly on my chair's backrest. You've built something incredible, he said, voice low. I can see it, even from the render. You've grown so much in these past months. I swallowed, heart pounding. Thanks, Ethan. I couldn't have done it without your support and your quiet confidence that I could manage all this. He smirked, though it didn't fully mask the exhaustion in his features. We make a good team, even when work pulls us in different directions. I nodded, feeling that emotional tether tighten between us. Professional stress and deadlines might tug us apart, but this connection, this understanding kept us grounded. The architects gathered their materials, packing up tablets, notes, and sketches. Mr. Thomas shook my hand firmly. Looking forward to seeing this vision come to life. You have a very clear sense of what you want. Commendable. Miss Rivera added, and having a hands-on client like you makes our work so much easier. Can't wait to see the finished branch. As they left, I exhaled, leaning back in my chair. Ethan came around to sit beside me, resting his hand on mine. Feeling accomplished? He asked, eyes soft. I nodded, smiling. More than ever, this branch is going to be amazing, and I got to do it my way. He brushed a strand of hair behind my ear, and I got to watch the woman I care about build her dream. That's my reward. For a moment, nothing else existed but the warmth of the study, the soft hum of the city outside, and the quiet, grounding presence of Ethan beside me. Professional pressures could wait, meetings could be rescheduled, emails could sit unread. For now, we had a shared breath, a shared heartbeat, and the unspoken promise that no matter the stress, we would always find our way back to each other. I leaned my head against his shoulder, letting the sense of calm wash over me. We're pulled in different directions, I whispered, but somehow we always find each other. He kissed the top of my head. Always, he murmured, his hand tightening over mine. No matter what. And in that quiet, sunlit study, amidst blueprints and business plans, I realized that love wasn't about being untouched by stress or distance. It was about coming back, day after day, to the person who mattered most. 2 weeks had passed since the initial meeting with the architects in the Ellison Manor study, and already, the energy of progress was tangible. The sun glinted off the glass facade of the nearly completed site for the third branch of Noor's Latte and Brew, casting sharp reflections across the polished concrete and scaffolding. I stood at the edge of the property, the smell of fresh paint and sawdust filling my nostrils, and felt the familiar hum of excitement thrumming through my chest. Sarah was beside me, clipboard in hand, ticking off items with her usual precision. So far, the contractors are on schedule. We've got the plumbing adjustments for the espresso machines finalized, and the custom shelving for the display cases is being crafted as we speak. She glanced at me, eyes shining. I swear, Miss Noor, you're going to walk in here one day and it's going to be exactly as you imagined, maybe even better. I smiled, pushing a loose strand of hair behind my ear, my thoughts drifting to the vision I'd held for months. That's the goal, I murmured. Every detail counts. The lighting, the seating, the barista workflow. I want this branch to feel alive, just like the first one, but unique in its own way. It needs to tell a story. Sarah nodded. It will. You've got that magic touch. And don't forget the brand shoot scheduled for next week. We need the new space to be picture perfect. I groaned playfully, shaking my head. I know. But seeing it come together like this, it's worth every second of stress. From the corner of my eye, I saw Ethan arrive in the sleek black SUV. He stepped out, tailored navy suit impeccable despite the midday sun, a subtle tension in his posture that I recognized immediately. Work had been relentless lately. The Keith Ellison merger still had loose ends, and I could tell from the set of his jaw that he hadn't even had a proper lunch yet. He spotted me, and his face softened into that familiar, unreadable expression that always made my stomach do flips. Without a word, he approached, his presence a grounding force in the whirlwind of construction noise and clattering hammers. You made it, I said, warmth creeping into my voice despite the chaos around us. He gave a slight nod, voice low. Of course, I wanted to see the progress. His eyes swept across the site with a sharp, evaluative gaze before settling on me. Looks like it's coming along beautifully. I laughed softly. I'll take that as high praise coming from Mr. Ellison, the man who critiques every architectural angle he sees. Ethan smirked, but his eyes softened. You've done this with focus and care. I like watching you build things, not just businesses, but your dreams. The architects came over to greet him, nodding politely. Mr. Ellison, Mr. Thomas said, extending his hand. Good to see you again. We've implemented the adjustments Noor requested, and we're on track for the next phase of interior finishes. Ethan shook his hand, keeping his tone professional. I appreciate the update. I want to make sure everything aligns with her vision. This branch is her world. You're just helping shape it. His gaze flicked to me, a spark of pride and admiration shining beneath the usual stoicism. I felt heat rise to my cheeks, but I held my ground. I want to make sure it's perfect. Every seat, every counter, every display needs to feel welcoming. As we toured the space, I found myself walking alongside Ethan more than the architects, pointing out subtle details and explaining my rationale for each choice. The contractors listened closely, while Sarah kept meticulous notes. I want the lighting to mimic natural sunlight as much as possible, I said, stopping in front of a window that overlooked the city street. Guests should feel warmth even when it's cloudy outside, and the barista stations should allow for interaction without sacrificing efficiency. Ethan's hand brushed against mine as he leaned slightly closer to inspect the layout. You think about every little thing, he murmured, his voice carrying an undertone of awe. It's impressive. I glanced up at him, caught off guard by the vulnerability in his tone. It's what I've been dreaming of for years, I admitted. I want this to be a place people remember, not just for coffee, but for the feeling. His expression softened even further. You make everything better, Noor, even coffee. I laughed, heart fluttering despite myself. The architects exchanged amused glances, sensing the subtle tension and closeness between us. Sarah, ever observant, shot me a discreet wink, acknowledging that this wasn't just a business visit. The rest of the morning blurred in a satisfying whirlwind of decisions, barista station finishes, seating arrangements, color swatches for walls and flooring textures. I had never felt more alive, completely in my element, shaping my dream with the guidance of experts and the quiet support of Ethan beside me. After the site walkthrough, we paused on the balcony overlooking the unfinished patio. The city sprawled beneath us, a mosaic of light, shadow, and possibility. I took a deep breath, letting the fresh air fill my lungs. Ethan stepped closer, his presence wrapping around me like a shield. 2 weeks, and look at what you've accomplished, he said quietly, hand brushing against mine. You've grown so much in such a short time. I smiled softly, leaning slightly into him. It's been intense, but I love every minute, and having you here, it makes the stress worth it. He chuckled, a rare sound that always made my stomach flip. We're pulled in 100 directions. Mergers, contracts, brand launches, but we always find a way back to this moment, don't we? I nodded, feeling the warmth of his hand over mine. Always. He leaned down, whispering close to my ear, no matter how busy life gets, you're my priority, Noor. I swallowed, overwhelmed by the intensity of the moment and the sincerity in his tone. And you're mine, I whispered back. For a brief moment, the city, the construction noise, the relentless demands of our separate worlds faded away. There was only us, 2 people navigating chaos but finding grounding in each other. The architects cleared their equipment, and Sarah reminded me of the brand shoot next week, which would capture the new branch in all its elegance and warmth. I nodded, mentally planning outfits and layouts while Ethan handled a quick call about the merger. Before we left, Ethan rested a hand lightly on my shoulder. Remember, no matter how pulled apart we get, we'll always find our way back. That's a promise. I smiled, feeling the steady beat of his words sink into me. I know. We walked back to the SUV together, our fingers brushing occasionally, a silent affirmation that amidst deadlines, blueprints, and high-stakes business deals, the emotional tether we shared remained unbroken. And as the city stretched endlessly around us, I realized something. No matter the distance between us, no matter the chaos of our separate worlds, we always found our way back to each other. The morning sun poured through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the new branch, illuminating the polished countertops, the warm wood panels, and the soft glow of pendant lights that hung above the espresso stations. I couldn't help but take a deep breath, savoring the smell of freshly ground coffee mingling with the faint aroma of varnished wood. Today was more than a routine check-in. It was the brand shoot for the third branch, a moment that felt almost surreal. Sarah had arrived early, clipboard in hand, looking every bit the professional powerhouse she was. She didn't just handle my logistics, she orchestrated them. "Miss Noor," she said, practically bouncing on the balls of her feet, "we've got photographers, lighting experts, and a stylist waiting. We need to make sure you look flawless for this." I nodded, letting my excitement mix with nerves. I wanted everything to go perfectly, not just for the photos, but for the story this branch would tell. The stylist ushered me to the changing area, revealing the outfit for the day. A cream-colored silk blouse, slightly billowed at the sleeves, tucked neatly into high-waist caramel trousers that hugged my waist and flared slightly at the ankles. My shoes were a pair of nude pointed-toe heels, elegant but comfortable enough to navigate the café set. A thin gold necklace caught the light, and my hair was styled into soft waves that framed my face, the simplest touch of gloss on my lips completing the look. I felt poised, powerful, and yet undeniably me. Sarah clapped her hands once. "Perfection. You're going to shine." I took a moment to glance around the branch. The new layout was everything I had imagined, the barista station gleaming under the lights, the cozy seating areas arranged to encourage conversation, and a corner filled with books and plants that gave the space life. I felt a swell of pride. I had built this, and this shoot would immortalize it. The photographer, a lively woman named Lila, approached me with a bright smile. "Noor, let's start with some casual shots behind the counter. I want to capture your natural energy while interacting with the baristas and customers." I nodded, slipping behind the espresso machine as the first assistant carried over a fresh tray of croissants and pastries for props. I moved fluidly, pulling the latte pitcher and frothing milk, my fingers instinctively finding the rhythm I had honed over years of practice. I crafted a latte art heart, placing it on the counter with a gentle smile, glancing up at the camera. "Beautiful," Lila said, snapping away. "Keep that expression, warm, inviting, confident." Sarah hovered nearby, adjusting my sleeves or smoothing a wrinkle, her eyes twinkling with pride. "You're doing amazing," she whispered. "This is everything we hoped for." The shoot moved to the seating area, where I took a tray of coffee to a couple of waiting models posing as customers. I laughed softly, offering a pretend menu suggestion, and the cameras clicked. Each movement felt natural, a blend of performance and authenticity. Ethan, watching from the sidelines, couldn't hide the subtle pride in his gaze. Even behind the suit and tie he had thrown on for a brief work meeting, his eyes followed my every motion. During a break, I slipped outside to the small patio area. The sun warmed my skin, and the city buzzed faintly in the background. Sarah handed me a sparkling water, and I leaned against the railing, taking a quiet moment to absorb the scale of what I was building. 2 years ago, I had been dreaming of this day, and now it was unfolding in real time. Ethan joined me, hands casually in his pockets, his dark blue shirt rolled at the sleeves. "You're incredible," he said quietly, voice low enough for only me to hear. "Every detail, every gesture, it's exactly you." I smiled, cheeks warming. "I couldn't have done it without you. You believed in me when I doubted myself." He shook his head, the corner of his mouth twitching into that rare, soft smile I loved. "I don't just believe in you. I'm constantly amazed. Watching you in your element, it's intoxicating." I laughed lightly, a little breathless. "Flattery will get you everywhere, Mr. Ellison." He leaned closer, the warmth of his presence grounding me amidst the hectic shoot. "It already has." We shared a quiet moment, a stolen pause from the frenzy of cameras, lights, and assistants. And in that instant, I realized that no matter how busy life became, no matter the weight of deadlines or the expectations of the world, we always found a tether back to each other. The shoot continued, moving inside to capture action shots of me serving coffee, guiding the staff, and interacting with imaginary customers. Each photo felt like a snapshot of the life I had carved out for myself, independent, ambitious, and grounded in passion. And through it all, Ethan remained a quiet support, occasionally offering a whispered compliment or a reassuring glance that kept my nerves at bay. As the final shots were taken, Lila clapped her hands. "That's a wrap. Noor, you were stunning. Every image tells a story. You're confident, warm, and magnetic." I exhaled, letting relief wash over me. The hours of planning, stress, and meticulous attention to detail had culminated in this moment. I felt alive, validated, and proud. Sarah, beaming, came over and adjusted my blouse slightly. "This is going to blow up online. You've not just created a branch, you've created a vision." Ethan placed a hand on the small of my back, guiding me gently towards the exit. "I told you," he murmured, lips near my ear, "you're unstoppable, and the world is just beginning to see it." I leaned into him, heart swelling with affection and gratitude. And I couldn't have done it without my husband cheering me on. He chuckled, pressing a light kiss to my temple. "Always." As we walked back into the quiet of the waiting SUV, the afternoon sun casting long shadows across the city streets, I felt a profound sense of balance between ambition and love, between the world I was building and the man who anchored me. Today had been more than a brand shoot. It had been a declaration. Noor Bayender was here to stay, and no matter the challenges ahead, she would shine both in business and in life. The morning sun poured into my apartment like a warm blessing, glinting off the red Louboutin heels I had just slipped on. I caught my reflection in the full-length mirror one last time, adjusting the delicate black lace of my dress that stopped just above my knees. My hair, long and wavy, cascaded down my back in effortless waves, and my tiny red Gucci bag completed the ensemble. I felt unstoppable. My phone buzzed on the counter, and I saw my parents, names lighting up the screen. "Mom! Dad!" I exclaimed as I answered. "Noor, congratulations, sweetheart." My mother's voice was bright and warm, even over the international line from Kuwait. "We are so proud of you. We wish we could be there to see the third branch open in person." "I wish you could too," I said, smiling despite the lump in my throat. "It's a big day, but don't worry, I'll send pictures and videos. Enjoy this moment, Noor. This is your success, your hard work, your dreams coming true," my father said softly, pride lacing every word. I felt my chest swell with gratitude and determination. "I'll make you proud. Love you both. Love you too, Noor. Have fun?" I hung up and let out a deep breath, savoring the excitement that bubbled inside me. Today wasn't just a branch opening, it was a statement, a culmination of sleepless nights, meticulous planning, and unshakable dreams. Ethan entered the room quietly, impeccably dressed in a black suit that clung perfectly to his broad shoulders, white shirt crisp, and black tie knotted just so. He exuded calm authority, and yet when he saw me in my black lace dress with those heels, a spark of something untamed flickered in his dark eyes. "You look incredible," he murmured, stepping closer. I felt the heat of his gaze, the confidence he radiated grounding me even as my nerves danced with anticipation. "You don't look so bad yourself, Mr. Ellison," I teased lightly, pressing a quick kiss to his cheek. Sarah appeared behind him, looking effortlessly elegant in her black dress, clipboard in hand. "You're running late for the van," she said, half-smile tugging at her lips. "Chantel's already waiting downstairs, and Amy and Gray are ready to roll." Chantel herself emerged a moment later in a soft pink dress, her excitement practically radiating off her like sunlight. Amy Ellison, regal as ever in an elegant blue dress, stood with Gray in a tailored gray suit, his hands tucked behind his back. Their poise alone could quiet a room, yet today there was something softer, more personal, a pride in their son and the woman he had chosen. The convoy waited outside. Our sleek minivan gleamed under the morning sun, its black paint reflecting the city skyline. Behind us, 2 more vehicles carried security personnel and the assorted escorts, ensuring our journey was smooth and private. I slid into the van beside Ethan, my tiny bag nestled on my lap. Ethan's hand brushed mine briefly, a subtle reminder that, even amidst the pomp, we were in this together. The drive through New York felt electric. People lined the streets, craning their necks to catch a glimpse of the convoy. The third branch of Noor's Latte and Brew had created a buzz weeks before, but seeing the anticipation firsthand was overwhelming. Children waved excitedly, couples whispered among themselves, and photographers jostled for a clear shot of the entrance. I could hear the low hum of chatter, camera clicks, and the faint aroma of freshly brewed coffee spilling from the branch itself. When we arrived, the crowd erupted into cheers. Balloons bobbed above the entrance, a decorative ribbon stretched across the doors, and employees in crisp uniforms waved enthusiastically. I felt a rush of emotion, the culmination of everything I had worked for, now realized in the faces of hundreds of eager customers. Ethan stepped beside me, his presence commanding yet comforting. "Ready, Mrs. Ellison?" he asked, handing me a large ceremonial pair of scissors. I nodded, my hands gripping the polished handles, and for a moment, time seemed to pause. The camera flashes from the press reflected off the glass doors, and I could see Sarah and Chantel behind us, their smiles wide and encouraging. Amy and Gray stood slightly back, hands intertwined, their faces a mix of pride and maternal-paternal amusement. With a shared glance and a deep breath, Ethan and I lifted the scissors together, the crowd holding its collective breath. 1, 2, 3, and the ribbon fell, cascading like a wave of promise and new beginnings to the ground. "Welcome to the third branch of Noor's Latte and Brew." Ethan's voice rang out, steady and proud. Cheers erupted, and we stepped forward, hand in hand, into the heart of the branch. Laughter and excitement filled the air as the staff clapped, balloons bobbed, and customers crowded around to peek inside. I walked through the space, greeting employees and high-fiving my baristas, each interaction filling me with warmth and pride. The espresso machines hummed as if joining in the celebration, and the scent of coffee mingled with the crisp air from the open doors. Ethan followed, occasionally placing a hand on my back, guiding me gently through the crowd. The family mingled effortlessly. Chantel chatted with some of the younger staff, her laughter ringing out like bells. Amy approached me, offering a soft smile that conveyed more than words could, a recognition of my achievement, of my tenacity, and of the woman she knew I was. Gray leaned closer, his voice low with quiet approval. "Your father would be proud," he said. I swallowed hard, touched by the sincerity in his tone. The press snapped photo after photo, capturing Ethan and me behind the counter, pouring lattes, laughing, and signing autographs. Sarah managed the chaos with her usual efficiency, ensuring every angle, every shot, every detail reflected the story we were telling, the story of dreams realized, of hard work rewarded, and of love interwoven into the journey. When the crowd finally started to settle, Ethan and I stood near the front, watching as families and friends began enjoying the café. I felt a hand slip into mine, and I glanced up to see Ethan's familiar smile, his eyes soft yet proud. "This is just the beginning," he said quietly, voice low against the hum of the branch. I squeezed his hand, leaning into his warmth. "It's perfect, all of it." The afternoon faded into evening, laughter and music filling the space, but in that moment, with my dream alive before me, surrounded by love, support, and the hum of a thriving café, I felt complete. And as we looked out at the crowd, hand in hand, I realized that the journey was far from over. But for today, happiness, laughter, and love ruled supreme. New York had a new heartbeat, and it was called Noor's Latte and Brew. The evening air was cool and soft, carrying the faint scent of jasmine from the garden surrounding the Ellison Manor. After the whirlwind of the day, the chaos at the new branch, the excitement, the endless flow of customers, the ribbon-cutting ceremony, and the media frenzy, I felt my muscles finally relaxing. Dinner had been quiet and comforting, a simple affair, just the two of us, in the Manor's dining room, Ethan's hand occasionally brushing mine across the polished oak table. Now, strolling through the manicured paths of the garden, the moonlight draped itself over the perfectly trimmed hedges, glinting off the small water fountain in the center. The villa felt alive yet intimate. The world outside paused, as if letting us have this moment alone. Ethan stopped near a wrought iron bench, pulling it slightly to face the moonlight, and I perched beside him. Before I could even sit comfortably, he gently lifted me onto his lap. I felt the familiar weight and warmth of him, grounding me in ways that words never could. "Thank you," I whispered, my head resting against his chest. "For everything. Today, you." He wrapped his arms around me tighter, the cool night brushing against my face as I looked up at him. His gaze softened, the stoic exterior slipping just enough for me to see the man beneath the man who had held me steady when everything seemed overwhelming. "Noor, you don't have to thank me. You did all of this yourself. I just get to watch you shine." I chuckled softly, a bubble of happiness rising in my chest. I couldn't have done it without you. Literally, you've been my anchor through all the chaos, Ethan Ellison. He smiled at that, a rare, small curve of lips that made my heart flutter. Before I could respond, his phone vibrated in his pocket. Ethan pulled away slightly to answer, and I caught the familiar ringtone of Amy Ellison's voice. "Mom," Ethan greeted, voice controlled but warm. "Ethan, Noor, I hope I'm not disturbing you." Amy's voice chimed across the line. I straightened slightly, feeling the pull of polite attention, but Ethan's hand stayed on my back, grounding me. "Never," Ethan replied smoothly. "What's up?" Amy's tone shifted to excitement and warmth. "I was thinking about your engagement party. I wanted to apologize for disturbing you this evening, but I wanted to discuss a few things. I've picked a location for the event, and I'd like you both to rest tonight. Over the weekend, I'll come with the event planner to finalize the remaining details." I smiled, leaning slightly against Ethan. "Thank you, Mrs. Ellison. That sounds perfect. We'll be ready for you." "Excellent. I just wanted to make sure you were both in the loop. Have a lovely evening and enjoy some time together." After the call ended, Ethan let out a soft breath, his hand moving to tuck a strand of my hair behind my ear. "See? Even Mom knows how to organize a takeover." I laughed, resting my head on his shoulder. "She's brilliant. I'm glad she cares enough to plan everything meticulously. Honestly, it makes me feel supported." Before we could linger in that moment, my phone buzzed. I glanced down to see Ari's name lighting up the screen. "Erie," I said, answering quickly. "Noor, I'm so sorry I couldn't make it today." Her voice was bright, tinged with longing. "I wanted to see everything, the branch, the opening, all of it." "It's okay, Irie," I reassured her, my heart warm at hearing my best friend's enthusiasm. "You've been here in spirit, and I'll send you a full walkthrough video. Honestly, it's been insane today." We chit-chatted for a few minutes, laughter and excitement bouncing between us until I realized Ethan's hand was still on my waist, his thumb brushing my side occasionally. I looked up to meet his eyes, a soft smile tugging at the corner of his lips. "Missed you, wifey," he murmured, leaning down to place a gentle kiss on my temple. "You missed me too," I teased, slipping my arms around his neck. He pulled me into a hug, strong and protective, the world outside melting away as I fit perfectly against him. Our lips met in a tender, lingering kiss, the kind that carried all the unspoken words of gratitude, comfort, and love. I felt the tension of the day dissolve completely under the warmth of his embrace. When we pulled back slightly, Ethan brushed a strand of hair from my face, his thumb lingering against my cheek. "Come on," he whispered. "Let me carry you back inside. I think the evening deserves a little luxury treatment for the lady of the hour." Before I could protest, he scooped me up effortlessly, my legs wrapping instinctively around his waist. I let out a soft laugh, heart racing from both the weightlessness and the intimacy of the moment. The garden lights sparkled around us, painting our path in gold as he carried me toward the manor. "Ethan Ellison," I said breathlessly, "you're impossible sometimes." He chuckled, leaning down to brush his lips against my forehead. "And yet you love it." I rested my head against his chest, soaking in the warmth, the safety, and the undeniable connection we shared. It was moments like these, amidst chaos, planning, and the never-ending rush of life, that reminded me why everything, every long hour, every stressful decision, was worth it. Inside the manor, Sarah quietly stepped aside as Ethan set me down gently, her eyes twinkling at our playful banter. I knew she understood. The bond we shared, unspoken but profound, grounded us even as our lives grew more complex. Ethan lingered a moment, brushing his thumb across my hand. "I'm proud of you, Noor. Today, tomorrow, always. No one can take that away from you." I smiled, my fingers curling around his. "And I'm proud of us," I whispered. The night deepened around us, the soft hum of the garden, the glow of the villa, and the quiet pulse of our hearts intertwining in the most perfect rhythm. In that moment, nothing else mattered. Work, fame, pressure, all of it faded. It was just us, holding on, loving fiercely, and carving our space in the world together. And as Ethan leaned down to press a soft kiss to my lips, I knew we'd always find our way back to each other, no matter what storms life tried to throw our way. The garden, the stars, the soft whispers between us, it all felt like home. The morning sunlight streamed through the towering windows of the Ellison condo, glinting off the polished marble floors and cascading over the elegant chandeliers that hung like crystal constellations. It was a crisp, bright day in New York, and my excitement buzzed through me like electricity. Today wasn't just any day, it was engagement prep day, a tangible step closer to becoming Mrs. Ellison, and the air itself seemed to hum with possibilities. Sarah? Eerie. And I made our way to the condo in a sleek black minivan. Sarah looked effortlessly chic in a cream silk blouse tucked into tailored taupe trousers, her hair pulled into a sleek low bun, and a pair of understated beige heels. Irie, ever the energetic force, wore a soft pink dress with ruffles at the sleeves, paired with white sneakers, practical yet playful. I opted for a soft lavender midi dress with delicate lace accents, my hair cascading in loose waves behind me, and matching nude heels. I felt radiant, nervous, and utterly giddy all at once. As we arrived, the grandeur of the Ellison condo greeted us. Valets moved with precision, carrying parcels and arranging the grounds, while staff hustled to prepare for the day. I stepped out, my dress brushing the polished steps, and felt a wave of happiness wash over me. This wasn't just about planning a party, it was about solidifying the life I was slowly weaving with Ethan. Amy Ellison greeted us at the door with that signature poise and elegance that could both intimidate and charm. She was dressed in a tailored sapphire blue dress that perfectly complemented her sharp, discerning eyes. Her heels clicked against the marble floor as she walked toward us, a soft smile breaking her usually commanding demeanor. "Noor, darling," she said, enveloping me in a brief but firm hug. "It's wonderful to see you ready to dive into this madness with me." I laughed softly, returning the embrace. "Thank you, Mrs. Ellison. I'm so excited." My voice carried a bubbling joy that I couldn't quite contain. "Call me Amy," she replied with a wry smile, her eyes sparkling with just a hint of mischief. "And yes, we'll have some fun today. Let's get started." We followed her into the main planning room, where the event planner had already laid out swatches of fabric, floral arrangements, color palettes, and a sleek tablet displaying digital layouts of the venue. The room was a whirlwind of sophistication and creativity, with a hint of tension under the surface, the kind of pressure that came with hosting an event that had to impress both family and society. Sarah leaned close, whispering in my ear, "Don't worry, Noor. We've got your back. Every single step. You're gonna shine." Ari grinned beside me, bouncing slightly on her heels. "And I'll make sure you don't miss a single detail or get lost in the whirlwind. Consider me your hype squad for the day." Chantel appeared soon after, her soft pink dress perfectly tailored to her elegant frame. She gave me a warm hug and whispered, "You're going to be amazing. Don't let anyone intimidate you, Mom included." I laughed, feeling the weight of her support. Her encouragement meant more than words could express. The planning began in earnest. Amy directed the conversation with precision, asking questions about preferred colors, flower arrangements, and guest lists. I watched her work with a mixture of awe and curiosity. How could someone balance authority, grace, and creativity all at once? I added my own ideas, my voice gaining strength with each suggestion. "I love soft blush roses with hints of ivory and eucalyptus. And maybe for the centerpieces, something that blends modern elegance with a touch of personal sentiment, like photos of family memories incorporated subtly." Amy raised an eyebrow, impressed. "Interesting. I like your thoughtfulness, Noor. It's clear you're not just here to be a figurehead, you're contributing meaningfully." Sarah chimed in, "Noor has an incredible eye for detail, Amy. You'll see. She's meticulous." Eerie nodded emphatically. "Absolutely. And she's so passionate, you can't help but be inspired by her ideas." Chantel laughed softly. "See? I told you. You're not alone in this." I felt my chest swell with gratitude. Their support reminded me that, despite the pressures, I wasn't in this world of luxury and expectations alone. I had a team and a family that genuinely wanted me to succeed. Hours passed in a flurry of decision-making, selecting fabrics, approving floral arrangements, sampling potential desserts, and discussing lighting and music for the evening. Every suggestion Amy made, I responded to thoughtfully, occasionally deferring to her experience, yet always adding my own voice. The energy in the room was electric, a mixture of determination, creativity, and shared excitement. At one point, I stepped back, looking around the room, the piles of swatches, the digital boards, Sarah making notes meticulously, Irie bouncing between me and Amy with energy and reassurance, Chantel offering her own elegant insights. I felt a quiet pride, a sense that I belonged here. This wasn't just about preparing for an event. It was a declaration that I had a place in this world, and that my opinions mattered. Amy paused and looked at me, her eyes softer now. Noor, you have a way of making everyone here want to contribute their best. You bring life to these plans. I smiled, the warmth in my chest blooming. Thank you. That means a lot coming from you, Amy. By mid-afternoon, the color palette was finalized, flower arrangements tentatively approved, and layouts of tables, seating, and lighting ready to present to the decorator. I felt a rush of accomplishment, my excitement intertwined with relief. This was real. The engagement was real, and today I had helped shape it. As we gathered our things, Sarah wrapped an arm around my shoulder. You did wonderfully, Noor. I'm proud of you. Irie nodded, leaning in for a quick hug. Absolutely. You handled yourself like a pro. Ethan's one lucky man. Chantel smiled at me warmly. You're doing more than handle it. You're making it yours. That's what counts. I laughed softly, feeling a mixture of exhaustion and exhilaration. Thank you, all of you. Seriously, I don't know what I'd do without this support system. Amy placed a hand gently on my arm, her smile now completely warm. You're going to be amazing tomorrow, Noor. Remember, elegance isn't just in the dress you wear or the flowers you choose. It's in your confidence, your poise, and the way you carry yourself. And you, my dear, have it in abundance. I felt a blush creep to my cheeks, the compliment wrapping around me like a soft blanket. I'll try my best, Amy. We left the condo later that evening, the sun now dipping behind the city skyline, casting the streets in a golden haze. I felt light, elated, and more connected than ever to this life that had once seemed so distant. With Sarah, Irie, and Chantel by my side, and the Ellisons guiding me, I realized that the engagement and everything that came with it wasn't just about tradition or appearances. It was about love, support, and the people who stood behind us, believing in us. As I glanced at Sarah and Irie in the back seat, their faces glowing with satisfaction, I whispered softly to myself, "We've got this. Together." And for the first time in a long time, I felt ready. Truly ready. The afternoon sunlight poured lazily through the expansive windows of the Ellison Manor, casting a warm golden hue across the grand living room. The scent of freshly brewed coffee lingered faintly, and the soft hum of the city outside felt distant, almost muted, in contrast to the vibrant energy inside. I stood near the velvet cream sofa, smoothing the folds of my soft emerald green dress, my fingers tracing the subtle shimmer in the fabric. The dress was simple yet elegant, the deep green a nod to my favorite color, and I paired it with gold earrings and nude pumps. My hair fell in gentle waves down my back, catching the light with every movement. Ethan, across from me, was the picture of stoic elegance, as always. His black tailored suit hugged his broad shoulders, the crisp white shirt beneath perfectly pressed, and his tie a muted navy to complement my green. He stood tall by the window, looking out with that quiet, contemplative expression he always wore when something weighed on his mind, and my heart couldn't help but swell. That mixture of power, calm, and quiet intensity, it was undeniably Ethan Ellison. A soft click at the door announced her arrival, and Amy Ellison stepped in with that unmistakable aura of command. Today, she wore a deep plum dress, the satin fabric flowing gracefully to her knees, paired with matching heels and her hair in a neat, sophisticated updo. Her presence filled the room immediately. She carried herself with a mix of authority and warmth that always left me slightly in awe. "Darling Ethan," she began, her tone firm yet affectionate, "I've come to discuss your engagement party." She moved gracefully into the room, her heels clicking lightly against the marble floor. "We've decided to host it in Greece, Mykonos, to be exact." Ethan's gaze flicked toward me, and a rare, subtle smile tugged at his lips. My heart skipped a beat, mirroring his excitement, though I tried to appear calm. Greece, the sun-soaked beaches, the whitewashed villas, the thought of starting our forever there was almost too much to contain. Amy continued, "We want it intimate. No paparazzi, just family. I've spoken to the event planner. Everything is in motion. Everyone is to arrive a week before the engagement so we can ensure a seamless, unforgettable event." She paused, her eyes flicking between Ethan and me, a teasing hint of pride in her gaze. And since it's just before Christmas, the family will also spend the holiday there. It will be a week of celebration, love, and memories. I could barely contain my excitement. I glanced at Ethan, who had turned fully toward her now, his eyes alight with that rare softness reserved only for moments like this. His hand brushed mine ever so slightly, a silent reassurance that we were taking this step together fully and without hesitation. "Mom," Ethan started, his deep voice carrying that familiar mixture of awe and amusement, "are you saying we're going to spend Christmas in Mykonos with just family?" Amy nodded, a faint smile softening her usually sharp features. "Exactly. It will be private and it will be beautiful. You two deserve to step into your engagement and eventually your marriage without the world watching. Consider it a sanctuary before the whirlwind begins." I felt tears of joy prickle my eyes, and I quickly blinked them away. "It sounds incredible," I breathed, my voice trembling with happiness. "I can't wait." "Of course you can't," Amy replied, a hint of laughter in her voice. "And Noor, you must call your parents immediately. They need to hear this. They should be part of this milestone. Witnessing their daughter's engagement will mean everything." Ethan squeezed my hand, his thumb brushing reassuringly across the back of my hand. "I'll wait for you," he murmured softly, his voice low but steady. My pulse quickened at the intimacy of it, the sense of unity we shared in that moment. Amy spent the next few minutes discussing logistics, the villa in Mykonos, seating arrangements, holiday festivities, and travel plans. She offered insights and suggestions, and I could feel myself absorbing every detail, committing it to memory, imagining the scene, the ocean breeze, the white cliffs, and the golden light of a Greek sunset casting warmth over the celebration. As the afternoon wore on, Ethan and I exchanged glances so subtle, so loaded with emotion, that I felt it before I saw it. Pride, love, anticipation, and a deep, unspoken understanding of what we were about to embark on together. The thought that we were truly taking the next step toward forever made my chest ache in the best way possible. Finally, Amy stood, signaling the end of her visit. "I'll leave you two to process. Call your parents immediately, Noor. And Ethan, you, my son, be ready to plan the details once they arrive." She smiled warmly, a rare softness accompanying her usual air of command. "This will be unforgettable. I promise you that." Ethan and I walked her to the door, his hand brushing mine naturally, sending sparks that made my stomach flutter. "Thank you," I whispered as she left. "No need," Amy said, giving us both a final approving look before stepping into the sunlight outside. The moment the door closed behind her, I fumbled for my phone, my hands slightly trembling from excitement. "I have to call my parents," I said, almost breathless. Ethan stood close behind me, his hand resting gently on my back, grounding me. "Go on," he urged softly, his voice a low rumble that made my heart race. I dialed my parents, my fingers barely able to press the numbers fast enough. Moments later, their smiling faces appeared on the screen. "Noor!" My mother exclaimed first, her voice lilting with excitement. "We just got here in time. What's happening? Why do you look so radiant?" "We have news," I began, struggling to contain my laughter and tears all at once. "The engagement party, it's going to be in Greece, Mykonos specifically. Mom, Dad, you're going to witness it." My father's jaw dropped slightly, eyes wide with disbelief and pride. "Greece? My daughter, Noor, my girl, is going to be engaged in Greece? And Christmas too?" His voice cracked slightly with emotion, a rare softness in his usually composed demeanor. "Yes," I said, barely able to contain my joy. "It's all set. The Ellisons want it intimate, just family. You have to come, please. You'll be part of the engagement and Christmas celebrations. I wouldn't have it any other way." They both laughed, joyous and disbelieving. "We're taking the next flight," my father said immediately. "We wouldn't miss this for the world. You're our daughter. We wouldn't miss a single second." I felt tears sting my eyes as I looked over at Ethan, who had moved to stand beside me, his presence a steady anchor. He leaned down, pressing a kiss to my temple, whispering softly, "Looks like your parents are as excited as we are." I giggled, wiping a stray tear. "Yes, and it makes it even more perfect. I can't wait to start this next chapter with you." Ethan smiled, a rare vulnerability breaking through his usual stoicism. "Neither can I, Noor. Neither can I." We lingered on the call for a few more minutes, sharing laughter, joy, and the electric anticipation of what was to come. When we finally ended it, a peaceful silence settled over the manor, punctuated only by the soft hum of the city outside and the steady thrum of our racing hearts. I turned to Ethan, my hand finding his, fingers interlacing. "This is really happening," I whispered, my voice soft but certain. "Our forever is really starting." Ethan's lips curved into that rare, tender smile reserved only for me. "Yes, and we'll do it right, together." We stood there for a long moment, hearts aligned, dreams aligned, and futures unfolding in ways we had only imagined. The week ahead promised planning, laughter, and celebration, and in that moment, we were simply us, two souls ready to take the next step into forever. The sun hung low over the Aegean, painting the sky in shades of coral and gold as our private jet descended gracefully toward Mykonos. The island glimmered beneath us, the whitewashed villas and cerulean waters a breathtaking contrast to the vivid horizon. My heart raced, a mix of excitement and nerves, knowing that this trip marked the beginning of the final stretch toward our engagement. Ethan sat beside me, his hand resting lightly on my thigh, a grounding presence in the midst of my fluttering emotions. He wore a casual navy linen shirt with the top buttons undone, paired with beige chinos rolled slightly at the ankles, revealing the brown leather loafers he favored when comfort met style. His hair was slightly tousled from the wind on the plain, giving him an effortlessly handsome aura that always made my heart skip a beat. I had opted for a flowing, pale lavender maxi dress with delicate floral prints, the light fabric swaying around my legs as I moved, and a simple straw hat perched atop my wavy hair, which had escaped the neat ponytail I had tied before boarding. My sandals were flat, strappy, perfect for the cobblestone streets I imagined we'd wander once we landed. A soft, gold bracelet on my wrist and matching earrings completed the look. Even in casual clothes, I felt like I was stepping into a dream. The plane landed smoothly, and as we stepped onto the tarmac, the salty breeze of the Mediterranean wrapped around us. Gideon was already there, standing tall and watchful in his dark aviator sunglasses, a quiet, reassuring presence as always. Sarah had her notebook in hand, already briefing us on the hotel logistics and local arrangements. "They've prepared everything for your arrival," she said, her voice tinged with excitement. "The villa you'll be staying in is breathtaking, and the staff will be ready to assist with anything you need." Ethan led the way, his hand finding mine instinctively as we walked toward the sleek black SUV waiting to take us to the villa. I marveled at how effortlessly he commanded attention even in casual attire. People seemed to notice, though he didn't care for it. The vehicle hummed quietly, gliding along the narrow streets, whitewashed buildings on either side reflecting the golden afternoon sun. The scent of salt and blooming bougainvillea filled the air, intoxicating and sweet. "I can't believe this," I whispered, leaning slightly against Ethan's shoulder. "It's even more beautiful than I imagined." He glanced down at me, the corners of his lips tugging into that rare private smile reserved just for me. "It's perfect," he murmured. "Just like this moment. Just like us." The villa came into view, a sprawling, pristine white structure perched atop a gentle hill overlooking the Aegean Sea. Blue shutters and accents mirrored the waters below, and the soft rustle of palm trees in the breeze added a serene soundtrack. I gasped, momentarily forgetting to breathe. The terrace alone seemed to stretch for hundreds of feet, lined with flowering pots, and a small infinity pool mirrored the sky's colors as if it had stolen pieces of the sunset. Gideon and Sarah were quick to secure our luggage, while Ethan and I wandered toward the balcony, taking in the view. My hand rested on the smooth stone railing, the cool touch grounding me as I took in the horizon. "It's like a painting," I murmured. "I feel like we're in a dream." Ethan moved behind me, his chest close to my back, and rested his chin lightly on my shoulder. "We're about to make it real," he whispered, his breath warm against my ear. "Engagement party, Christmas, and everything after. This is our canvas, Noor." I turned slightly to meet his gaze, my heart hammering. The warmth in his eyes, the unspoken promise in his stance made my knees weak. "I'm ready," I said softly, more to myself than to him, though he heard. Sarah nudged us gently, her voice pulling me from the moment. "The hotel for the engagement is about 5 minutes from here. They've prepared the grand ballroom, floral arrangements, lighting. It's spectacular. Ethan, Noor, you'll want to see it before the event." We made our way to the sleek minivan arranged for our short ride, the streets now bathed in the soft amber glow of early evening. People passed by on scooters and bicycles, locals with warm smiles, curious glances at the couple stepping lightly through their town. Ethan kept his hand on my knee the entire time, fingers brushing occasionally, sending subtle sparks that made me giggle quietly. The hotel loomed as we approached, a towering structure of white stone and glass, a blend of traditional Greek architecture and modern luxury. Lanterns lined the entrance, flickering in the dusk, and palm trees swayed gently along the pathway. Security and staff moved efficiently, already anticipating our needs. Gideon led the way, his stoic presence allowing Ethan and me to slip seamlessly through the arrival area, while Sarah whispered notes about the seating arrangements, stage setup, and special touches designed for our engagement party. Inside, the hotel was immaculate. Marble floors reflected the soft chandelier lights, and every surface shimmered with polished elegance. The staff bowed slightly as we passed, already accustomed to our presence from prior communications with Amy and the event planner. Ethan held the door open for me as we entered the grand ballroom, a breathtaking space with floor-to-ceiling windows, a view of the moonlit sea, and arrangements of white lilies, roses, and greenery that filled the room with fragrance and elegance. I couldn't help but run my fingers along the edge of the smooth table near the entrance, feeling the coolness beneath my touch. It's perfect," I whispered, my voice filled with awe. Ethan's hand found mine again, squeezing gently. "I told you," he said softly, leaning slightly closer so our shoulders brushed. "Just like us." We spent the next hour walking through the hotel, peeking into each area where the engagement would unfold, balconies for photographs, dining areas, and the small chapel for the private ceremony. Every detail was precise, every corner reflecting the Ellison standard of perfection. My heart swelled with gratitude and love for the man beside me and the family supporting us, and I could see the subtle pride in Ethan's eyes, too. As the sun dipped fully into the horizon, painting the sky in deep purples and oranges, we stepped out onto a terrace overlooking the ocean. The waves reflected the fading light, and the scent of salt and flowers filled the air. Ethan wrapped an arm around my waist, pulling me close. "Our forever is right here," he murmured, kissing the top of my head. I leaned into him, feeling his warmth and strength, knowing that no matter the chaos or professional obligations waiting for us in New York, in moments like this, nothing mattered but us. The private balcony, the sea breeze, the scent of flowers, the glow of the sunset, it felt like a prelude to a lifetime of memories we were about to create together. As we watched the sun disappear completely, I whispered, "I can't wait for the engagement, Ethan. For everything." He tilted his head down, brushing his lips against my temple. "Me neither, Noor. And when we step into that ballroom, when we take this next step, it'll be ours, all of it. Every detail, every smile, every moment." I smiled, resting my head against his chest as we stood together, watching the waves sparkle in the last light of day. Somewhere in the distance, the gentle hum of the town below blended with the rhythm of the sea, and I felt it a sense of peace, anticipation, and absolute certainty. Our engagement, our Christmas, our future, it all began here, on this magical island, with the man I loved, ready to take on the world beside me. The villa was unusually silent, except for the occasional hum of the air conditioning and the faint crashing of waves against the cliff below. I gripped my phone like it was a lifeline, though right now it felt more like a ticking time bomb. My jaw was tight, shoulders coiled with tension as I paced the room. The Ellison-Keith merger, the one I had poured months of work into, was crumbling right before my eyes. And somehow, no amount of logic or authority could seem to fix it. "Listen, we're not going to bend on these terms," I said into the phone, my voice low but firm, the controlled edge betraying the storm inside me. "I don't care what the numbers look like on your end. If this deal falls apart, you're going to regret underestimating what we bring to the table." The voice on the other end was just as heated, clipped and sharp. "Ethan, you don't get it. This isn't negotiable. Keith isn't budging. You need to—" I slammed my free hand onto the mahogany desk beside me. A small stack of architectural blueprints for Noor's upcoming projects fluttered to the floor, the crisp paper punctuating my frustration. "I don't want to hear it. I told you what's going to happen, and that's the end of the conversation. A pause. Then the line went dead. I sank into the chair behind my desk, gripping the leather armrests like I could squeeze some sense into the chaos around me. I hated losing control, hated feeling powerless. Every fiber of me ached with the need to fix this, to dominate the situation and bend it to my will. But Keith was different. He didn't play by my rules, didn't bow to my authority, and that infuriated me in ways I couldn't quite articulate. I rubbed my face with both hands, running my fingers through my hair, muttering curses under my breath. The phone slid off the desk into my lap, and I leaned back, staring at the ceiling. I could hear the faint laughter of hotel staff outside the villa, the calmness of the ocean waves mocking my inner storm. A knock at the door pulled me from my spiraling thoughts. I didn't even have to turn to know who it was. Bruce Fargo. My oldest, closest friend and one of the rare people who could see past the walls I built around myself. "Ethan, you need to breathe," he said as he stepped in, hands casually shoved into the pockets of his navy blazer and crisp white shirt. His expression was a mixture of concern and amusement, as if he'd seen this side of me enough times to know exactly how to react. "You're pacing like a caged lion, man." I exhaled slowly, though the tightness in my chest hadn't eased. "Caged? Bruce, this is a disaster. The merger, it's falling apart, and I can't let it happen." Bruce leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. "Two things, Ethan. One, you can't control everyone. And two, getting angrier isn't going to make Keith sign anything. You're only wasting your energy." I laughed, but it was hollow, brittle. "Do you know what happens when we fail on this? The Ellison legacy, I can't just hand it over to them. Hand it to some guy who doesn't understand the work, the leverage, everything I've built. I can't." He moved closer, resting a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "Ethan, listen. I get it. You've invested your blood into this, but right now you're letting emotion cloud your judgment. Take a step back. Go for a run. Call Noor. Something. You're letting the pressure eat at you." My chest heaved with a frustrated exhale. "Noor's busy with the engagement prep. She's not here to pour." My words trailed off as the reality hit me. She wasn't here. She was over at the hotel, coordinating florists, decorations, seating arrangements, everything a bride-to-be could ever obsess over. And here I was, pacing and snarling over a deal that refused to bend. Bruce smirked slightly, sensing my spiraling. "See, you're thinking about her. That's why I came over. You need a reality check." I swiveled in my chair to face him fully. "A reality check? Bruce, this isn't about reality. This is about control. About ensuring that the Ellison name, everything I've built, remains unchallenged. Keith doesn't get that." Bruce shook his head, a soft chuckle escaping him. "Ethan, you've been like this since we were 16, but there's a difference between being in control and obsessing over something you can't fix by sheer willpower. Right now, you need strategy, not anger." I leaned forward, gripping the edge of my desk until my knuckles whitened. "Strategy? I've done every calculation, every projection. I've predicted his moves, countered them, but nothing's sticking. And God, Bruce, he's stubborn. It's maddening." Bruce walked over and lightly tapped the desk beside me. "Then maybe it's time to let someone else handle the initial pressure points. You're not meant to do this alone. That's what I'm here for." I paused, finally letting some of my anger ebb away. The tension in my shoulders began to soften, though the knot in my chest was still there. "You're right. I need perspective." I rubbed my forehead, exhaling slowly. "I can't let this ruin the next few weeks. Not when Noor's finally settled, not when everything's moving perfectly on her end." Bruce leaned back against the desk, smiling faintly. "See? That's progress. Now, grab a drink, calm down a little. You've got enough time before your next call. And Noor, she'll handle everything beautifully, just like always. You know that." I nodded, letting my fingers run through my hair again, thinking of Noor. Even though she wasn't here, her presence lingered in my mind. The way she carried herself, the calm and grace with which she approached everything, even amidst chaos, made my chest tighten with something far more complex than frustration. It wasn't just admiration. It was pride, desire, an aching need to protect and support her. Bruce's voice cut through my thoughts. "You're pacing again." I groaned, standing and taking a step toward the balcony. The night sky stretched over Mykonos like an endless canvas of stars. the villa's lights reflected on the ocean sparkling like diamonds scattered across black velvet. I took a deep breath, letting the salty air wash over me. Somehow, amid the stress and frustration, the sheer beauty of the world outside managed to calm the storm within me. Bruce followed, leaning on the railing beside me. See that? Perspective. The world isn't ending. Not yet. I allowed a small chuckle to escape, the tension finally loosening its grip. Not yet, I agreed, my voice softer, almost a whisper to the night. I hate feeling like I'm not in control. That's the thing about life, Ethan, Bruce said quietly, glancing at the horizon. Control is an illusion, but balance, that's something you can achieve. Take a breath, focus on what matters, and everything else will follow. You've got this. I exhaled again, slower this time, letting his words sink in. The anger, the frustration, the tight coil in my chest, they were still there, but for the first time since the call, I felt a spark of clarity. Bruce was right. I didn't have to carry everything on my own. Noor would return soon, and her presence, her calm, would center me. And maybe, just maybe, letting go of some control was exactly what I needed to regain it. Thanks, Bruce, I said finally, turning to look at him. I needed that. He clapped a hand on my shoulder, his grin familiar and reassuring. That's what I'm here for, man. Now go grab a drink before you explode, and don't think about Keith for 2 minutes. Just breathe. I nodded again, the tension in my shoulders easing further. My fingers flexed against the railing as I stared out at the shimmering ocean, the lights of the distant town flickering like tiny stars. I could almost feel Noor's presence beside me, her laughter, her soft voice, her reassuring hand in mine. That thought alone anchored me in a way nothing else could. 2 minutes, I murmured to myself, letting the cool breeze hit my face. For the first time tonight, I allowed myself to breathe, and for the first time, I felt that maybe, just maybe, everything would fall into place. Bruce patted my back one last time before heading toward the kitchen. Call me if you need backup. Otherwise, try not to burn down the villa in the meantime. I smiled faintly, a spark of amusement breaking through my brooding mood. Noted, I said quietly, and as the night deepened, the stars shimmering above, I realized that even amidst chaos, even when the pressure threatened to swallow me whole, there was always a way to find calm, to find focus, and to find my way back to the people who mattered most. Because tomorrow, Noor would return, and together, we could face anything. The villa door clicked softly around 6 in the evening. I didn't need to turn. I knew that sound as well as I knew the rhythm of my own heartbeat. Noor always closed doors like she was apologizing to the air. I looked up from the balcony, and there she was walking in with her hair down, soft waves spilling over her shoulders, wearing a white sundress that hugged her waist and fluttered at her knees. She looked like the one quiet moment I'd been craving all day. She paused when she saw me, like she was reading the weather in my eyes, and then she smiled. God, that smile, the kind that wipes out tension like a reset button. She stepped closer. You look like you argued with a brick wall. I let out a small laugh, mirroring her smile. Close. I argued with Keith, which is worse. She dropped her bag onto the armchair and walked straight to me, resting her arms around my waist like it was the most natural thing in the world. Come here, she whispered. I didn't hesitate. My arms went around her shoulders, pulling her against me. She was warm, soft, grounding, like breathing in oxygen after drowning for hours. She tipped her chin up. Rough day? Only until now, I murmured, brushing my thumb along her jaw. Her cheeks flushed instantly. You flirting with me, Mr. Ellison? I smirked. If I say yes, will it earn me a kiss? Her eyes softened with that teasing glow she saved only for me. That depends. How badly do you want one? Enough to negotiate for it. She laughed, a light, melodious sound, and rose on her toes to kiss my cheek. First offer. Rejected, I said, catching her waist and pulling her closer, lips inches from hers. I want the real thing. Her breath hitched. She melted against me just enough to let me know she wasn't resisting. Then take it, she whispered. I did. Slow, warm, coaxing like we were both remembering the exact shape of each other's mouths. The frustration, the anger, the pressure of the day, all of it dissolved into her. She pulled back slightly, breath trembling. Ethan, you smell like stress and ocean air. I groaned softly. Because I've been waiting for you. She laughed again and tugged my hand. Come inside. I got you something. We walked into the living room, still hand in hand. She lifted a small bag from the coffee table. "I passed a boutique on my way back," she said with a grin, "and I saw something that just screamed Ethan." I arched a brow. "Should I be concerned?" "No," she said, holding out a navy blue tie with delicate silver threading. "It matches your eyes and your attitude." "My attitude?" "You know," she teased, "that corporate, brooding, billionaire energy you carry around like a badge." I chuckled and wrapped an arm around her waist again. "Do you like that attitude?" She pretended to think. Sometimes." "Sometimes?" I leaned in, my lips grazing the shell of her ear. "I'll have to improve my performance." She shivered visibly. "Got her." Her fingers curled into the front of my shirt. "Ethan, stop." "That didn't sound like a stop," I murmured. She covered her face with her hands, laughing. "You're impossible. And you love it." "Maybe," she shot back, cheeks warm. I tapped her chin, guiding her eyes back to mine. "You're smiling," I said. "That means my day officially got better." So her expression softened into something fragile and tender. "Your day gets better because of me?" "Always." She leaned into my chest and exhaled. "You should have called me. I hate that you were stressed alone." "I didn't want to pull you away from the engagement prep. You're my fiancé, Ethan. You're allowed to pull." That did something strange and warm to my chest hearing those words, hearing her claim me with that confidence. I kissed the top of her head. "Next time, I promised, I'll call." She nodded and held me tighter. Then she lifted her face and gave me a sly, wicked little smile. "So, if I flirt with you right now, will it help your stress levels drop even more?" My brows shot up. "I'm listening." She wrapped her arms around my neck slowly, intentionally, rising onto her toes so her lips brushed my jaw. "You look really good frustrated," she whispered. I inhaled sharply. "Noor, and even better when I'm the one undoing the frustration." My hands immediately found her hips. "You're playing with fire." She kissed the corner of my mouth. "Maybe I like fire." I groaned deep, low, helpless. "You're going to kill me." "Not today." She smiled, then placed a soft kiss on my lips. "Today I'm saving you." I laughed, burying my face against her neck and pulling her close again, letting her warmth seep into me like medicine. She stroked the back of my head gently. "Ethan." "You're doing your best, and even if the merger goes bad, I'm still here. I'm not going anywhere." That hit harder than any business blow ever could. I pulled back and looked into her eyes, big, warm, certain. "I know," I said quietly, "and that's the only reason I can breathe right now." She smiled. "Good, because I'm non-flirting with you." I grinned. "Then by all means continue." She stepped back, twirling once in her white dress. "First, you should know, I missed you today." I crossed my arms, smirking. "Oh, how much?" She bit her lip, shy but bold. "Enough to want you close." I stepped forward instantly, sliding an arm around her waist and pulling her to me. "Then I guess we should fix that." Her breath tangled with mine as she whispered, "Fix it." I kissed her again, slow, deep, lingering, tasting the sweetness of everything she made my life feel like. And just like that, the world righted itself. By the time the sun dipped into the Aegean like a gold coin sinking into velvet water, Mykonos had fully exhaled. The wind softened, the air warmed, and the entire hotel seemed to glow as if it knew something big was coming, something tender, intimate, a prelude to forever. Tonight was the dinner before the engagement, which, honestly, felt insane to my heart. Tomorrow, I was getting engaged. For real. Officially. To Ethan. I took a slow breath as I finished pinning the last strand of my hair behind my ear. The burgundy dress I wore clung to my curves like it was in love with me, a satin slip that shimmered whenever I moved, hugging my waist, dipping slightly at the chest, and falling fluidly to my ankles. The slit rose high on my left thigh, a teasing little whisper of rebellion. My black strap heels gave me the kind of posture that said, I know my power, and I look good using it. Before heading out, I checked myself in the mirror. I looked happy, like genuinely deeply, glowy from the inside happy, and that alone almost made me tear up. Dinner at the hotel restaurant. The moment I stepped into the hotel restaurant, I was hit with a warm wave of laughter, perfume, and soft instrumental music. Everyone was already arriving, taking their seats, clinking glasses. My family, Ethan's family, friends who had become extensions of my heart. I spotted Ethan first. And sweet heaven. He was in a white suit, crisp, tailored, sharp. The jacket hugged his broad shoulders like it was custom-built from worship, The white-on-white styling gave him this ethereal, clean, dangerously striking aura. His hair was slicked back lightly, jaw freshly shaven, eyes soft the moment they met mine. He stood, adjusted his cuff, and walked toward me with slow, intentional steps like I was the only person in the building. "Hi, sweetheart," he murmured, kissing my cheek with a touch that sent electricity straight through me. "Hi," I whispered back, gripping his lapel. "Burgundy looks illegal on you," he breathed, his lips brushing my ear. I hit his chest gently. "Behave. We're in public." "Exactly," he said with that wolfish grin. The outfits, the whole crew serving looks. Bruce showed up in a royal blue suit, giving Wall Street heartthrob but approachable best friend. Gray arrived in a silver suit, looking expensive enough to be a walking exclusive deal. Gordon's sage green suit made him look like a CEO on vacation, calm and aristocratic. Alma wore a white two-piece, elegant skirt and structured crop top, glowing in motherly grace. Amy looked youthful and bold in a Britain pattern dress, all red-blue-white confidence. Chantel was sleek in beige, all soft curves and warm elegance. Aries' light pink and cream combo gave her fairy tale sweetness, while Sarah's tangerine dinner dress radiated bright, bold energy. My people looked like summer royalty. The whole restaurant felt like a scene from a high-budget romance film, warm lighting, crystal glasses, chairs carved with gold accents, and the sea breeze slipping in through the open terrace doors. The energy was insane. Everyone was smiling, talking over each other, hugging, laughing. The table was long, family style, and the moment Ethan and I sat down, someone, I think Bruce, clinked his glass. "To the soon-to-be fiancés." The rest followed, clinking their glasses like an orchestra of champagne. I leaned into Ethan, and he looked at me like I was the only plot twist life ever needed. My parents were glowing, literally glowing, sitting next to Ethan's mom like old friends. My mother presented a delicate silk-wrapped box. "For both of you," she said, her voice soft with pride. Inside was a pair of vintage gold-plated candlestands, intricate and symbolic. "For your new home," my father said. "Light, that will never go out." My throat tightened. Ethan's parents' gifts. Alma handed us a rectangular velvet box. Inside was a family heirloom necklace, delicate diamonds arranged in a subtle teardrop design. "For Noor," she said, squeezing my hand. "You're one of us now." Gordon gave Ethan a firm pat on the shoulder before sliding forward a slim box. Inside was a luxury pen, engraved with, "Ethan Luxford, write your legacy." Ethan looked emotional, but tried to hide it. Classic him. "Bruce's gift." Bruce cleared his throat dramatically. "Ahem. For the couple I'm forced to third wheel for the rest of my life." Everyone laughed. He handed us a small wooden box. Inside was a miniature carved sculpture of two interlocking rings, handmade, smooth, incredibly detailed. "Symbolism, baby," Bruce said. "And also, I carved it myself, so if you throw it away, I'll cry." Chantel's gift, a silver-wrapped package. Inside was a custom photo album, blank but beautifully embossed with our initials. "For all the memories you two will make," she said gently. Erie's gift, a fragrant box. Inside, scented candles and oil diffusers curated to smell like luxury peace. "For your nights," she said, smirking at me. Sarah's gift, a deep blue envelope. Inside, vouchers for a weekend couple's spa retreat. "You're going to need it after tomorrow," she teased. Ethan's toast. Ethan rose slowly. Everyone fell silent instantly. He took my hand beneath the table, squeezing gently. "I'm not good with speeches," he began, voice low and steady, "but I am very good at loving this woman." My heart clenched. I didn't expect her, I didn't plan for her, but she walked into my life and rewrote every rule I had. "Noor, you are home. You are my anchor, my peace, my storm, and tomorrow I get to ask you the easiest question I'll ever ask." I blinked rapidly, tears burning. "To my future fiancé, I can't wait for tomorrow." Everyone cheered. Bruce whistled so loudly that Sarah smacked his arm. Ethan leaned down, whispered, "You look like you might cry, sweetheart." "I'm fine," I lied badly. After dinner, the pool. The night sky was star-drunk when Ethan and I slipped away from the noise. The hotel pool glowed turquoise, soft lights dancing across the surface. My heels dangled from one finger as we walked hand in hand. "You good?" he asked softly. "More than good." "Come here," he murmured, pulling me closer until my hands rested on his chest. We barely made it to the poolside before he tugged gently at my waist. "You know," he teased, "I can't stop thinking about you in that dress." "Oh, really? Really?" I dipped my toes in the water, cool against my skin. Ethan loosened his tie, tossed it aside, then unbuttoned the top 2 buttons of his shirt. "You're staring," he said. "Because you're distracting," he smirked. "Good." A moment later, he scooped me up just like that and stepped straight into the pool with me in his arms. I squealed, water splashing everywhere. "Ethan!" He laughed a deep, warm sound I felt in my chest and kissed me, his lips wet, soft, claiming. I wrapped my arms around his neck, laughing into his mouth, kissing him back like the night belonged to us. "You ready for tomorrow?" he asked, pressing his forehead to mine. "With you, always." His hand slid to my waist under the water. Mine tangled in his wet hair. The world outside Mykonos faded. There was only him, only us, only the promise of tomorrow resting between our lips. And just like that, the night before our engagement became its own unforgettable chapter full of laughter, gifts, love, and water-drenched kisses under a sky that seemed to bless us. I woke up feeling like Mykonos had wrapped me in a soft, warm blessing. The sunlight drifted lazily through the villa's sheer curtains, painting golden strokes over the white walls. The sea outside hummed like it was whispering, "You're loved, you're chosen, today is yours." I turned in bed and saw Ethan already awake, lying on his side, watching me like I was a sunrise he'd waited his whole life to see. "Good morning, sweetheart," he murmured, brushing a loose strand of hair off my cheek. I melted instantly. "Good morning." He leaned in, kissed my forehead, then my nose, then the corner of my lips, slow, soft, like he was savoring the privilege. "Today's the day," he whispered, and just hearing him say it made something flutter and bloom wildly inside my chest. Breakfast with my future fiancé. We had breakfast on the balcony overlooking the wide blue ocean, the table filled with Greek pastries, fresh fruit, honey, iced coffee, scrambled eggs, and soft bread sprinkled with sesame seeds. The morning breeze tugged at my hair as I watched the waves roll toward the shore with calm determination. Ethan kept stealing glances at me like he couldn't believe today was happening. "So," he said, leaning back in his chair, arms crossed in that smug way, "how does it feel knowing you're about to become officially stuck with me for the rest of your life?" I squinted at him. "Stuck is crazy. You're lucky I adore you." He grinned, slow, warm, dangerous. "I know. We ate, talked about random things, laughed about Bruce knocking on our door last night looking for his charger, and every now and then Ethan brushed my hand with his thumb, grounding me, keeping me soft. When breakfast was almost done, he suddenly stood up, walked over to my chair, and pulled me up by the waist. "What are you doing?" I asked, laughing. "Kissing my future fiancé," he said simply. And then he did soft at first, slow, then deeper, fuller, like he was pouring all his emotions into the moment. I grabbed the back of his neck, pulling him closer, let myself drown in that familiar warmth. When he finally pulled back, his forehead rested against mine. "I'll see you in a few hours," he whispered. "And Noor, whatever you wear tonight, you're going to ruin me." My cheeks burned. "Ethan," he smirked. "Go get ready, sweetheart." The girls arrive. 5 minutes later, we heard excited footsteps on the villa's marble hallway, and then the door swung open without warning. Sarah burst in first, bright, glowing, chaotic sunshine. "Bride-to-be!" she shouted, raising both hands like she was summoning a miracle. Eerie followed behind, calm but smiling widely, holding 2 iced coffees and a bag of snacks. "Noor," she said softly, "let's go turn you into a goddess." Ethan chuckled behind me. "Good luck, she already is one." Sarah made a dramatic gagging sound. "Please, Ethan, go do CEO things. Let us handle the beauty department." Ethan kissed my cheek one last time. "Text me if you need anything." "I will," he whispered. "I love you. I love you too." And then he left. Tall, confident, glowing like he was walking toward the best day of his life. The ride to the hotel. Sarah hooked her arm around mine as we walked toward the car waiting outside. "Girl, how do you feel?" she asked, practically vibrating. "Like my heart is trying to do gymnastics," I admitted. Eerie handed me an iced coffee. "Good. That means it's real." The hotel was only 5 minutes away from the villa, a massive luxury building overlooking the bluest part of the sea, sunlight bouncing off its glass windows like sparkles. As we stepped inside, the lobby was already decorated with soft hints of the theme: silver, cream, blush, and white florals. But the engagement area itself was off limits. Nobody but the planner and Amy had seen the full setup. Sarah squeezed my hand. Are you ready for glam? I think so. Eerie smiled. You're going to be breathtaking. The glam suite. The hotel had assigned a full glam suite, a massive bright room with floor-to-ceiling windows and an entire glam team waiting like they'd been summoned by the gods. My makeup artist, Lila, stood first, a tall woman with soft brown curls and the warmest eyes. You must be the bride, she said gently. I blinked. Almost. Well, you're glowing already, she said, guiding me to the makeup chair. Next to her was my stylist, Matteo, flamboyant, dramatic, and already fanning himself when he saw me. Oh my days, he exclaimed. This face, this bone structure, this hair, I'm about to make Ethan pass out. I laughed nervously. Please don't make him pass out. No promises. The vanity had everything laid out in perfect symmetry. Brushes, foundations, highlighters, glosses, palettes in soft romantic tones. My engagement dress hung in the corner, zipped up, waiting like a secret shimmering subtly, even from across the room. The moment I sat down, Sarah placed a hand on my shoulder. Noor, she said softly, this is your day. Eerie stood behind her nodding, and you deserve every beautiful second of it. My throat tightened. You guys, you're going to make me cry. Don't cry yet, Leela said quickly. Give me 2 hours. Everyone laughed. The prep begins. Leela turned my chair toward the window so the sunlight washed over my face. Let's start, she said, her voice soothing. She brushed my hair lightly off my shoulders, studying my features like an artist looking at her canvas. We're going for soft glam, she murmured. Romantic, glowing, timeless. Matteo clapped excitedly. Yes, baby, ethereal bride-to-be. Sarah sat on the couch, legs dangling as she recorded on her phone. Day before Noor gets engaged, she narrated dramatically. She's surprisingly calm. I'm not calm, I said. You look calm, Eerie added. That's just survival instincts. They laughed again as Lila prepped my skin, cool serums, gentle massages, hydrating mists. I felt myself relaxing into the chair, breathing slowly as the reality of the day settled deeper. I was getting engaged, today, in Mykonos, to a man who had loved me through every fear, every doubt, every fragile moment. The weight of that softness, that privilege, washed over me like warm water. Matteo pulled out a box of accessories. These are options for the hair, he said dramatically. Gold leaves, crystal vines, or the pearl comb we talked about. It should be the pearls, Irie said immediately. They're elegant. Sarah nodded. Pearls. Ethan will lose it. Lila smiled. Pearls it is. A knock sounded on the door room service. 2 waiters came in with fruit trays, pastries, champagne, and fresh water. For the bride's suite, one said politely. Sarah squealed. Yes, we are being spoiled. The prepping continued, soft brushes across my cheeks, warm hands blending foundation, cold tools sculpting and defining. I watched myself slowly transform into a softer, glowing version of myself. Not someone new, just the version Ethan always saw in his eyes. By the time Lila finished my skin and Matteo began curling my hair into soft waves that framed my face, I felt my heartbeat steady. I felt ready. Ready for the moment. Ready for the promise. Ready for him. As Lila dabbed the last bit of shimmer onto my collarbone and Matteo pinned the final pearl comb in my curls, Sarah stood up dramatically. Oh my God, she whispered. Noor, you're radiant. Eerie exhaled. He's going to stop breathing. I looked at myself in the mirror, glowing, calm, loved, beautiful, and for the first time today, I saw it clearly. Tonight, my life changes forever. And I'm ready. The moment I stepped out of the hotel suite, the world seemed to hold its breath, like even the marble floors of the corridor knew tonight was history in motion. My history. I could feel the silk of my ruby-red dress gliding along my legs, the thigh slit kissing warm air each time I moved. The fabric shimmered, rich, deep, almost alive. My hair was styled into soft waves, pinned into place, with the pearl comb Ethan picked out in Los Angeles. I didn't tell him, but I'd saved it for this night. And every time the pearls caught the light, they felt like tiny promises of forever. My blackstrap heels clicked like quiet punctuation marks on the tiles. Not much jewelry, just a delicate bracelet and earrings, but the simplicity made me feel powerful, like elegance had taken human form and borrowed my body for the evening. I inhaled sharply. Okay, Noor, I whispered to myself. This is it. The hotel staff led me toward the grand hall, the air humming with low music and laughter. I could see a soft, warm glow spilling out from the doors like I was walking straight into a dream. And then I saw him. Ethan Ellison. standing at the heart of the hall in a white suit that made him look ridiculously ethereal, like sin dressed in purity. His hair slightly tousled from the sea breeze, jawline sharp enough to silence a room, hands tucked in his pockets like he owned time itself. He turned, saw me, and everything about him stilled. Those storm-gray eyes widened slow, reverent, like he was watching the sunrise for the first time, like the world had forgotten to move because it was too busy looking at me. He looked at me like she was made from the last spark of God's imagination. He walked toward me slowly, purposefully, each step echoing through my bones. His gaze didn't shift not once. When he reached me, he took my hand, lifted it slightly, and whispered, "You're going to kill me in that dress." My heart flipped. "Then die softly," I murmured. He chuckled, low and warm. "I plan to." He guided me into the hall, his palm firm on my waist. The venue was breathtaking white roses, floating candles, soft gold lighting, musicians playing strings from a balcony. The Ellisons really said budget? Never heard of her. Guests turned, cameras flashed discreetly, but all I cared about was how Ethan brushed his thumb gently along the back of my hand, as if grounding himself. We reached the ceremonial arch, a masterpiece of ruby flowers, gold vines, and candlelight. It felt like standing inside a heartbeat. Chantel squealed when she saw me. Sarah gasped. Ari clapped dramatically. Amy smiled with such warmth it almost melted me. Then Gray, standing next to Gordon and Alma, lifted his hands. "Shall we begin?" My parents were crying already. Alma dabbed her cheeks. Gordon puffed his chest out proudly like he was giving away a national treasure, and not just his only daughter. Ethan leaned closer, his breath warm against my ear. "You ready?" "More than ready," I whispered back. The ceremony began. Gray spoke first, his voice steady, soft but powerful. "Today we celebrate the promise of a future we've all prayed for, one built on respect, on undeniable connection." My chest tightened. Gordon followed. "Noor has always been fire beautiful, bright, purposeful. Today she joins her flame with another." I looked at Ethan. He looked at me. Everything else blurred. The officiant motioned Ethan forward. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a ring, simple, elegant gold with a small cluster of diamonds. Not loud, not flashy, perfect. "For the past months," Ethan said, his voice unsteady in the most beautiful way, "you've challenged me, ruined me, saved me, softened me, and made me want things I never thought I deserved. You are," his voice broke faintly, "you are the calm in my storm." My breath hitched. He held my hand gently. "You are my beginning and my choice." I didn't blink, didn't breathe. Then it was my turn. I swallowed. "Ethan, you walked into my life like a question I didn't know how to answer. You scared me, you annoyed me, you confused me." He smiled, "But you also protected me, supported me, loved me in the quietest, loudest, realest ways." My voice trembled. "You are my safe space, my miracle, my home." Ethan's jaw flexed, eyes glistening. I placed the ring on his finger. His hand shook just a little. People clapped softly. Chantel wiped her tears. Bruce made a whole scene, sniffing loudly. Then, "By the love you hold for each other," the officiant said, "I now present you, engaged." Ethan pulled me in. Not rushed, not frantic, slow, certain, claiming. His lips met mine in a kiss that felt like the universe folding into my chest, warm, deep, tender, but intense enough to set my bones on fire. He kissed me like the future was carved in the spaces between our breaths. When we pulled away, he rested his forehead on mine. "We're really doing this," he whispered. "We are," I breathed. The night blurred into champagne, laughter, toasts, dancing under chandeliers, hugs, pictures, soft tears, and endless warmth. When the official program ended, Ethan tugged my hand gently. "One more thing." We walked outside to the pool area, the water dark and shining like liquid sapphire under the night sky. The music from inside drifted softly. Then, without warning, Ethan wrapped his arms around my waist and whispered, "Don't scream. Scream, whoa." He lifted me off the ground and jumped into the pool with me. Cold water exploded around us. I came up gasping, laughing so hard my stomach hurt. "Ethan, are you insane?" He smirked, pushing his wet hair back. "Very." I splashed him. He grabbed my wrist. I shrieked and tried to swim away, but he caught me by the waist and pulled me against him. "Don't run," he murmured. He kissed me, wet, breathless, playful, but so full of love I could feel it buzzing under my skin. He cupped my face gently. "Thank you for choosing me." "I didn't choose you," I said softly. "You happened to me." His eyes softened dangerously soft like I'd just unraveled something sacred inside him. We stayed in the pool a while, wrapped around each other like the water couldn't separate us even if it tried. Because tonight, we weren't Noor Bayender and Ethan Ellison. We were what happened when fire found its match. The morning light seeped through the tall French windows of the villa, painting the room in soft golds and ambers. The Mediterranean breeze carried the scent of salt and wildflowers from the cliffs below, and I inhaled deeply, letting the cool, fragrant air fill my lungs. It was quiet here, a rare peace after the whirlwind of the engagement party, and for the first time in days, I could finally exhale. I sat cross-legged on the edge of the villa's sprawling balcony, bare feet brushing the sun-warmed tiles, and stared out at the endless blue of the Aegean Sea. My hair was messy, tied loosely in a low bun with a few rebellious strands falling around my face, and I wore one of Ethan's oversized white linen shirts over soft shorts, a comfort uniform for these rare quiet moments. A soft knock at the door made me turn, and my heart leapt when I saw her, my mother, Alma. She stood there with a soft smile, the golden sunlight catching her face and highlighting the warmth in her eyes. She wore a flowing kaftan in deep emerald, the fabric moving like liquid as she stepped inside, and the familiar scent of her perfume wrapped around me in a way that felt like home. My chest tightened. Seeing her here now, in this surreal, perfect moment, brought back every memory of my childhood, of small hands held, whispered advice in the kitchen, and laughter echoing in our vineyard. "Mama," I whispered, standing up too quickly, almost stumbling over the edge of the balcony. She crossed the room in slow, purposeful steps and pulled me into a hug. Her arms were warm, steady, and the kind of comfort that no matter where I went in the world, I would always carry with me. I buried my face in the curve of her shoulder and let myself melt into the embrace. "I missed you," I murmured, my voice thick. "I missed you too, Noor," she said softly, brushing the loose hair from my face. "You look radiant." Her hands cupped my face as she looked at me, really looked at me. "And happy." I pulled back just enough to meet her gaze. "I am," I admitted, "but it's all so much. The engagement, Ethan, the family, the spotlight. I feel like I'm being pulled in every direction, Mama." She nodded, sitting down on the cushioned balcony chair and gesturing for me to join her. I obeyed, settling into the chair opposite her, letting the sunlight warm my skin. The villa was quiet, except for the faint sound of waves crashing against the cliffs and the soft hum of the villa staff going about their morning routines. The silence felt sacred, a space just for us. "You're not alone, Noor," she said, her voice steady and calm, the kind of calm that could quiet storms. "Look at you. Look at what you've done. You've stepped into this world with courage and grace, and I've never been prouder." I blinked back tears, feeling the weight of her words. "Mama, I'm scared. Scared I won't be enough, that I'll mess this up. Ethan deserves someone perfect, someone who fits into this world without making a mistake." My voice cracked at the end and I looked away, feeling the vulnerability bubble to the surface. Her hands found mine, gripping them gently but firmly. "Noor Elsa Bayender, listen to me. Perfect doesn't exist. And fitting in, you don't have to. You bring your own light, your own energy, your own heart. Ethan loves you, not some ideal, not a version of you someone else expects. He loves you for your fire, your kindness, your passion, your strength. That's who you are. That's enough." I swallowed hard, letting her words seep into me like water into dry earth. But what if I fail? What if I can't balance all of this? My brand, my cafes, my family, being with him? She chuckled softly, a sound that wrapped around me and made me feel grounded. "Then you learn, Noor. You always do. You've been learning all your life, how to fight, how to stand tall, how to carve your own path. Marriage doesn't change that. It adds layers, yes, but it doesn't erase you. And you won't have to face it alone. You have Ethan, you have your family, and you have me." I felt a warmth bloom in my chest, a mixture of relief and love so strong it almost brought me to my knees. I love him so much, Mama. I didn't think I could feel this way, not like this." She reached out and tucked a strand of hair behind my ear, her fingers lingering on my cheek. "And he loves you just as much. That's why he's here, why he's standing by your side. Noor, love is terrifying because it matters. It's wild and messy and breathtaking, and that's exactly why it's beautiful. You're allowed to feel scared. You're allowed to feel overwhelmed, but never doubt that you are worthy of this love and that it is real." I exhaled slowly, tears brimming and heart pounding. Sometimes I feel like I'm living a dream, Mama, that I'm not awake. Everything is happening so fast and I don't want to stumble. I don't want to ruin it." She smiled, eyes soft, filled with pride and affection. "Noor, life moves fast, but that doesn't mean you can't breathe in each moment. Don't let fear steal your joy. You've worked hard for your dreams, for this life, and now you get to live it with someone who sees you for all of you. Lean into it, darling. Trust yourself. Trust him. Trust the love between you." I let her words wash over me, letting the tension in my chest loosen. "Thank you, Mama, for reminding me who I am, who I can be." She reached across and squeezed my hand. "Always. That's my job. And remember, you can always come to me. No matter how far you go, no matter what happens, I'm your home, even if it's just for a moment like this." I smiled through the tears, a mix of gratitude and relief. I needed this more than I realized. She chuckled softly. "I know, baby. I know." We sat together in silence for a while, just watching the waves, letting the peace settle in. The villa around us glowed in the morning light, the Mediterranean Sea stretching endlessly beyond, and for the first time, I felt like I could breathe again. Then, the quiet was gently interrupted by a soft knock at the door. "Ethan?" My heart skipped a beat. He stepped into the balcony with bare feet, casual linen shirt and shorts, hair slightly messy from sleep. He didn't intrude, just leaned against the frame, watching us. Mama smiled at him knowingly. "Don't worry, he's not interrupting anything." Ethan's gaze softened when it fell on me. I felt it sweep over me like a protective shield, like it was both grounding and thrilling at the same time. He leaned down, brushing a kiss against my temple, and whispered, "Good morning, beautiful." I turned to him, smiling through the remnants of tears, and he didn't need words. He just held me, letting the warmth of his body remind me that I wasn't alone, that we were in this together. Mama watched the moment quietly, a soft smile playing on her lips. "I'll leave you two to enjoy this moment," she said gently. "No, stay," I murmured. "I want you here." She shook her head, but her eyes were tender. "I'll check on you later, Noor. Go enjoy him." And with that, she left us, slipping out with quiet grace, leaving the balcony empty except for the three of us, the sea, the sun, and Ethan. He pulled me into a warm hug, pressing his lips against the top of my head, holding me like I was fragile and indestructible at the same time. "You okay?" he asked softly. "I am," I whispered, wrapping my arms around him. "Because you're here." His hands found mine, fingers intertwining, and he kissed the back of my hand. "Always," he murmured. "We're doing this together." I leaned my head against his chest, heart still racing, but steady in the knowledge that love, real love, could be messy, complicated, and overwhelming, and still perfect. The villa around us seemed to hum in the warmth of the morning sun, the sound of waves and the beating of our hearts. For the first time in days, I felt truly anchored. Not to the villa, not to the sea, not even to the engagement itself, but to Ethan, and to the unshakable love that had quietly, fiercely claimed my heart. I whispered, almost to myself, "We can do this, together." Ethan's lips curved into a smile against my hair. "Together," he echoed. And in that moment, the chaos of the world felt distant, the pressures faded, and it was just him and me, holding each other, tethered to nothing but the strength of what we had built, and the love that would carry us forward. We stayed that way for what felt like forever, the sun climbing higher in the sky, painting everything in golden hues, a reminder that no matter how fast life moved, we could find our anchor in each other. And that would be enough. If joy had a temperature, Mykonos in December felt like the perfect balance between cool and warm, a soft breeze that kissed your skin while the sun rested gently on your shoulders like a warm hand. Christmas here wasn't loud or glittery or chaotic like New York. It was calm, intimate, and wrapped in a kind of quiet magic that made everything feel sacred. The morning of Christmas Eve started slow. The villa smelled like cinnamon and honey. My mom had woken up early to make a new version of our traditional pastries, and the scent floated through the entire place like a hug. The sea sparkled in the distance, and the sky was clear enough to see every shade of blue God ever created. Ethan was still sleeping when I woke. He looked peaceful, hand under his cheek, hair messy, chest rising and falling slow, and I watched him with the kind of quiet awe that made my heart feel too big for my ribs. I pressed a soft kiss to his shoulder before leaving him to rest and slipping into a light white robe. When I reached the kitchen, everyone was already awake. Sarah was slicing fruit while humming Christmas songs off-key. Eri was filming the sunrise for her story. My dad and Gray were arguing over how to properly brew Greek coffee, both pretending they knew what they were doing, both failing miserably. And Amy, elegant, stylish, gorgeous, Amy was sitting by the counter sipping champagne at 10 in the morning like the CEO she was. "Merry almost Christmas, Noor," she said, lifting her glass. "Merry almost Christmas," I giggled, hugging her. "Starting early?" "Merry almost Christmas," she corrected, eyes twinkling. "And I am celebrating surviving your event planning chaos." Everyone laughed. For the first time in days, the villa wasn't filled with work, anxiety, or planning, just peace, just laughter, just family. Ethan came down a few minutes later wearing gray sweats, a white t-shirt, and a robe draped over his shoulders. His hair was wild, but in a sexy, effortless way. He yawned and walked straight to me, wrapping his arms around my waist from behind and kissing my neck. "Good morning, love," he murmured. "Good morning," I whispered back, leaning into him. His parents entered the kitchen next, Gordon in a navy knit sweater, Alma in a soft beige dress, and the whole morning wrapped itself around us like one long embrace. We had breakfast together as one big family: croissants, fruit platters, honey-covered pastries, warm bread, Greek coffee, champagne, fresh orange juice, sunshine pouring through the windows, making everything glow. I looked around the table, soaking it all in. My parents, Ethan's parents, Chantel, Sarah, Eri, Gray, Bruce, Ethan. Every single person who mattered. Every single person who loved us, all in one place. It felt surreal. After breakfast, we spent the morning exploring the town. Mykonos during Christmas was quiet. Most of the tourists were gone, leaving behind the locals, the charm, the authenticity. The cobblestone streets glowed white and blue under the winter sun, and we all walked together like one big, warm, chaotic, gorgeous clan. We visited the windmills, took pictures with the Aegean stretching behind us like a painting. Ethan kept stealing kisses, ignoring everyone teasing him. My dad pretended not to see. Gray actually watched and sent Ethan a warning smile. Sarah laughed the entire time. Eri claimed she was collecting blackmail footage. Then we went to Little Venice. The waves crashed against the edge of the restaurants, spraying tiny droplets into the air. We sat on the steps as a group, 12 people squeezed way too tightly, laughing, sharing stories, eating gelato in December because why not? Chantel tried to take aesthetic photos. Bruce photobombed half of them. Gordon bought Ethan a small handcrafted bracelet. Ethan pretended he didn't care, then wore it for the rest of the day. My mom bought me a pearl hair clip. "You'll wear this for your wedding weekend," she whispered. My heart melted. A lot. We walked through markets, bought souvenirs, fed stray cats, and entered tiny shops with handmade pottery and jewelry. In one shop run by an older Greek couple, the woman held my hands and said in the softest voice, "Congratulations, my dear. May your marriage be as calm as the sea in summer and as strong as the wind in winter." I almost cried. Ethan kissed my hand immediately after, whispering, "Amen." By afternoon, we reached a small local restaurant overlooking the water. Wooden tables, white curtains fluttering from the breeze, warm dishes that smelled like heaven. It wasn't fancy, and that made it perfect. We ate together. Grilled octopus, lemon potatoes, tomato balls, fresh fish, bread dipped in olive oil. Everyone talked at once, laughed loudly, teased each other, shared stories, and I realized this was happiness. Not the glamour, not the mansion, not the luxury. This, people, love, food, sunlight, peace. As the sun began to set, we returned to the villa, tired, full, warm, and happy. In the evening, the entire family gathered outside by the infinity pool. The staff lit lanterns across the patio, and the pool glowed soft blue against the darkening sky. A huge Christmas tree stood in the corner, decorated with seashell ornaments, starfish, and tiny white lights. Music floated gently in the background, soft jazz mixed with Greek Christmas songs. I wore a simple beige knit dress with soft waves in my hair. Ethan wore a black turtleneck and trousers, looking like a walking romance novel. Everyone changed into cozy holiday outfits, sweaters, warm dresses, cute scarves. We all sat around the fire pit, Sipping hot chocolate, topped with cream and cinnamon, we exchanged family gifts. My mom gifted Ethan a gold-plated pen engraved with, "For the man who protects my daughter's heart." Ethan actually got emotional. His ears turned red, his jaw tightened, and he blinked quickly. He gave my dad a limited edition vintage chess set. They played a game immediately. My dad lost, twice, but insisted he let Ethan win. The laughter didn't stop the entire night. Bruce performed a dramatic reading of a Christmas poem. Sarah danced to a Christmas remix. Chantel took 1,000 photos. Gray tried to convince my parents he was the calm one of the family. Alma gave me a bracelet with a tiny diamond star charm. And Amy toasted to family, new beginnings, and life-changing love. Ethan squeezed my hand the entire time. Our fingers were intertwined so tightly I could feel the pulse in his palm. He looked at me every 5 minutes like he couldn't believe I was real. Later, when everyone drifted off to play board games or talk in small groups, he pulled me aside and whispered, "Walk with me." We slipped down to the shoreline, hand in hand, barefoot on the cold sand. The sea shimmered under the moonlight. The air was chilly, but I didn't feel it. His arm was around me the whole time. We talked about everything and nothing. Our dreams, our families, our future home, our wedding, our kids one day, our fears, our hopes, and then he kissed me. Slow, soft, like the entire world went quiet just for us. "I love spending Christmas with you," he whispered against my lips. "I love you," I whispered back. He held my face gently, brushing his thumbs across my cheeks. "You're my peace, Noor." And maybe it was the sea, or the night, or the magic of Christmas, but I swear my heart learned a new way to beat. We stayed outside until our toes went numb, then ran back up the hill to the villa, laughing like kids, breathless and happy. When we reached the door, he lifted me effortlessly, bridal style, and carried me inside. Everyone inside screamed playfully, "Get a room!" and Ethan smirked. "We have one." I hid my face in his chest as everyone laughed. By midnight, the villa quieted. The fire pit dimmed, the lights softened. Everyone went to bed smiling. Ethan and I curled up in the master room, wrapped in blankets, facing each other. He brushed my hair behind my ear and whispered, "This is my favorite Christmas ever." I smiled, heart full to overflowing. Mine too. And as we drifted into sleep, warm and tangled, with the ocean whispering outside the window, I thought, if love had a season, this would be ours. I woke up on New Year's morning with Mykonos sunlight pouring across the sheets like warm honey, the kind that makes your bones sigh and your heart whisper thank you. Ethan was still sleeping beside me, his face relaxed, lashes resting like quiet soldiers on his cheeks. The room smelled of salt air and the faint vanilla of the candle we forgot to blow out last night, and for a second I just lay there, absorbing it all, this new reality, this new rhythm, this new love that still felt unreal when he wasn't even touching me. My fiancé. God, that word carries weight. It sits on my chest like a soft blanket and a lightning bolt at the same time. In all the right ways. Outside, fireworks residue still slept on the streets. The island was quiet, gentle, like it too was nursing its emotions from the night before. And me? I was floating. Full. In awe of the fact that my first New Year with Ethan had arrived wrapped in soft Greek air, in a villa overlooking blue that looked manufactured by angels, in a family that had finally aligned itself. I touched Ethan's cheek, tracing the slight stubble he swore he was going to shave before midnight last night, but didn't. He stirred, then opened one eye, the sleepy one. "You're watching me again," he murmured, voice thick with mourning. "You're pretty," I whispered. He smirked. "You're obsessed. But go on." He pulled me close and kissed me. Slow, warm, early morning tender. And I swear, the kiss felt like the first step into a new chapter of my life. A chapter kissed by destiny and packaged with this man who was both chaos and calm. After breakfast, toasted bread, fresh fruit, and Ethan stealing bites from my plate like he wasn't a fully grown man with his own food, Sarah and Ari pulled up in a buggy like two Greek goddesses on a mission. "Come on, Mrs. Almost Ethan," Sarah yelled. "Let's go." The day is already aesthetically pleasing. I rolled my eyes, hugged Ethan goodbye, and he kissed my forehead like he was signing his name on me. Then I hopped into the buggy. I was buzzing. It was New Year. My fiancé was real, my happiness wasn't fragile anymore, and I wanted to show all of them, the entire family, who had embraced me like I was born into their bloodline, just how thankful I was. Today, I was going to cook New Year's lunch. Not just any lunch, a fusion feast. Mykonos, New York, the ultimate cross-functional culinary collaboration. When I got home, I tied my hair up, put on soft music, and stepped into the kitchen like it was a stage. I started with the gyro wraps, warm pita, soft as a whisper, folded over spiced meat, tomatoes, onions, and tzatziki that tasted like a Greek love letter. The villa smelled like heaven with a Mediterranean passport. Then came the seafood souvlaki, marinated in lemon, garlic, and herbs. The skewers sizzled like applause. I added Greek pita bread fresh from the oven, golden and puffed like it was excited to be here. And then, in true New Yorker spirit, I roasted turkey and chicken, seasoned aggressively, because New Yorkers cook with their whole chest. By the time I finished, the dining room looked like a culinary board meeting with an overly enthusiastic CEO. Me. The table was colorful, fragrant, and honestly, a little sexy. One by one they came down. Alma, elegant as always, Ethan's parents hand in hand, Bruce and Chantel in matching outfits because they're in that phase, Sarah and Erie laughing about who knows what, and Ethan proud in that quiet way he does everything. Alma gasped, Sarah's jaw dropped. Ethan kissed my cheek. "You're dangerous," he whispered. When everyone sat, the compliments poured in like performance reviews after a wildly successful quarter. "Noor, this is incredible. I've never tasted souvlaki this fresh. You made all this? You're setting the bar too high, babe." And I felt full, not with food, with love, with belonging, with a warmth that wrapped itself around me like a scarf knit by fate. After lunch and a little competitive banter over who ate the most gyros, it was Gordon, the man is a machine, we all changed for the next big agenda item, a New Year cruise around Mykonos. The ship was massive, all white, gleaming, like a billionaire's toy parked on the water. The air was cool but not cold, the kind that wakes you up gently. The sun was starting to dip, painting the sky with apricot and lilac streaks. We boarded and instantly the mood shifted into full holiday mode. Music playing, cameras flashing, laughter bouncing off the waves. Bruce and Gordon started an argument about who would steer the ship, even though neither of them was allowed anywhere near the cockpit. Chantel and Sarah kept taking photos, about posing with every railing like they were shooting a perfume campaign. Alma and Ethan's mum talked in a soft corner, smiling like women who had seen life and chosen joy anyway. Ethan wrapped his arms around me from behind as we stood at the deck's edge. "Happy New Year, Noor," he said, his lips brushing my temple. "Happy New Year," I whispered back. "How does it feel? Your first one with me?" I let the moment settle into my bones before answering. It feels like I'm standing exactly where I'm supposed to be, like I finally understand what peace tastes like. He kissed the back of my ear, softly, possessively. "Good, because you're stuck with me now." The ship cruised around the island, slicing the sea open like silk. Waves shimmered. The wind played with my hair. Everyone was laughing, vibing, teasing each other. A family. My family. I leaned on Ethan's chest and he rested his chin on my shoulder. For a moment, the world paused. Just me, just him, just this life we were building. Brick by brick, kiss by kiss, year by year. I whispered, "Thank you." "For what?" he asked. "For choosing me." He turned me around, held my face with both hands, and smiled that rare, boyish smile he only gives me when he forgets he's supposed to be serious. "Noor, I didn't choose you," he murmured. "I recognized you." And just like that, my heart reset itself for the year. The sky burst into fireworks, unexpected, bright, loud, as if the universe wanted to clap for us. And surrounded by love, laughter, the scent of the sea, and the arms of the man who was both my anchor and my chaos. I stepped into the new year feeling invincible. The study felt smaller than usual, though the room was more than generous. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the Aegean in its mid-afternoon calm, the blue waters teasing the sun into golden streaks that lit the dark mahogany of the study's furniture. I had always liked this room. It was mine, my sanctuary. Until today. Today, it felt like the walls themselves were closing in, the air heavy with the weight of something I hadn't planned to carry, not alone. Keith's number flashed on the phone. I could see the moment he dialed, my gut tightening before I even answered. A threat, a challenge. something I knew would disrupt the fragile equilibrium I had been trying to maintain these past weeks. I inhaled, bracing myself, my hand tightening around the edge of the sleek desk, my knuckles turning white. "Ellison," Keith barked before I even said hello. My jaw clenched. "What is it?" I asked, voice steady, though the irritation was rising like steam from a kettle. He didn't waste words. "The merger. We have a problem. Gray's terms have changed, and the investor approvals aren't lining up. If we don't act now, the entire deal collapses." I could feel my chest tighten, the usual calm I wore like armor fraying at the edges. 2 weeks of planning, meetings, projections. It all felt like it was slipping through my fingers. And worst of all, I wasn't alone in this mess. Noor was right there, sitting across from me, her sapphire eyes wide, brimming with curiosity and concern. She leaned forward slightly, placing a hand on my desk. "Ethan, breathe. Tell me exactly what he said," she urged softly. Her voice had this grounding quality, the kind that could stop a storm from raging just by being steady. I had seen it countless times when she managed chaos at her cafes, but never in my world. Never with me. Keith rattled off numbers, percentages, new timelines and conditions, but I wasn't really hearing him. I was watching Noor. I noticed the way her brows knitted together, her mouth pressed into a line, the subtle tension in her jaw. My mind shifted almost unwillingly to her, trying to separate the facts from the fear I saw mirrored in her expression. "Okay," I said, my voice firmer now. "We can work with that. Tell me the updated deadlines." Keith's tone turned sharper, impatient. "You don't have time to delay, Ethan. You have 24 hours to renegotiate terms. Otherwise, the merger goes to someone else who won't waste a second." I hung up without waiting for him to finish. The line went dead, leaving me staring at the sleek desk, trying to breathe through the sudden heat of adrenaline that had started to thrum through my veins. Noor's hand lightly touched mine. "You're shaking," she observed. I glanced at her, and she didn't look scared. She looked determined, solid. Somehow, she radiated calm in a room where the storm outside and inside collided. "We'll fix it," she said, her voice like a tether I could cling to. I exhaled slowly, letting some of the tension go. "I can't afford mistakes," I admitted, and the words felt heavier than I expected. "No one expects perfection," she countered, leaning closer, her hand now pressing more firmly on mine. "But we can strategize. Show me the documents. Let's go through them together." I blinked, momentarily taken aback. Her involvement wasn't just moral support, it was active, hands-on, practical. She wanted in, and I wanted her there, needed her there. I pulled the file towards us, spreading the papers across the mahogany desk. Charts, projections, email printouts, investor notes, everything laid bare. Noor scanned each page with uncanny precision, her brows furrowing, eyes darting, but always calm. She asked questions I hadn't even considered, highlighting gaps and proposing ideas that forced me to see angles I'd missed. "I think you can leverage this," she said, pointing at a projection line that had been problematic. "If you shift the investor pitch here and offer a minor adjustment to the timeline there, it won't look like a concession. It'll look like initiative." I nodded slowly, impressed and slightly unnerved. She was right, flawlessly right, and she delivered it without hesitation, without the slightest hint of fear, even though this was my world, my merger, my chaos. "I don't know how you do this," I muttered, though it sounded more like awe than complaint. She shrugged lightly, almost coyly. "I've managed chaos before. Your numbers just have a slightly bigger dollar sign." She smirked, and the tension in the room eased, just slightly. I let out a breath I hadn't realized I'd been holding. "All right," I said, my tone steadying. "Here's the plan. We call the investors tonight, renegotiate the timeline, offer the minor adjustments, and make it appear seamless. We present a united front. You in?" Her eyes sparkled. "I'm in, but only if you promise me one thing. Don't burn out. You need to eat. You need to sleep. You need me," she added softly, a teasing lilt undercut by genuine concern. I chuckled, but it was low, a sound somewhere between amusement and relief. "You always have a way of turning things into a team effort, don't you?" She shrugged, leaning closer, lowering her voice. "Teamwork is sexy," she said with a wink. My lips twitched into a rare, crooked smile. She had that effect on me, always. Even now, with a merger collapsing around my feet, with a storm of investors and emails and deadlines screaming at me, she made me want to breathe, to pause, to simply exist in this moment. I leaned back slightly, rubbing my temples. Okay, then let's do this. Let's call the investors, together. Noor nodded, already pulling up her own tablet. Her fingers danced across the screen, pulling files, cross-referencing projections, noting what could be used and what could be deferred. Every so often she looked up at me, her gaze steady, commanding, supportive. I caught myself staring longer than necessary. How did she do this? How did she make my world, my chaotic, high-stakes world, seem manageable? She caught my look and smirked. Focus, Mr. Ellison, or I'll start taking over your empire. I laughed, a genuine deep sound, and shook my head. Fine, take it over, but only because I trust you. The rest of the afternoon passed in a flurry of calls, negotiations, and strategizing. Noor was there through all of it, not just as my support, but as an equal partner, analyzing, suggesting, debating, pushing me to think faster, sharper, smarter. Each time Keith called back with another demand, another deadline, I felt my temper flare. But then I looked at her, and somehow I remembered why I needed to stay calm. By the time the sun dipped low, painting the villa in shades of gold and rose, we were exhausted, but the merger had stabilized, barely. I leaned back in the leather chair, rubbing my face, and she sat across from me, exhausted but smiling, her hair falling loosely over her shoulders, eyes gleaming with pride and mischief. You know, I said finally, voice hoarse, you just might be the best assistant I've ever had. She laughed, a soft, melodic sound that eased some of the remaining tension. I told you, Mr. Ellison, I'm not your assistant. I'm your partner. You're lucky to have me. I tilted my head, studying her, realizing she was right, always right. And for once, I didn't mind admitting it. Later, as the office quieted and the villa's study dimmed under the warm Mykonos sunset, I caught her hand across the desk. She didn't pull away. I didn't let go. You were incredible today, I whispered. She smirked, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. So were you. You just didn't know it yet. And in that moment, with the Aegean breeze drifting in, the papers of the merger scattered between us, and the last light of day dancing on her sapphire eyes, I realized something profound. I could handle anything, as long as she was by my side. Noor's POV. I swear Mykonos has a way of making every morning feel like God washed the world overnight and hung it out to dry. The light hits different gold, soft, too pretty to waste on human stress. But apparently the universe didn't get the memo, because stress was the only language Ethan and I had been speaking for the past 48 hours. 2 days since that call from Keith. 2 days of Ethan pacing lines into the villa's marble floors. 2 days of me pretending I wasn't watching every crack form in the man I loved. And now, here we were standing in the study of the villa like two CEOs about to sign a divorce settlement we hadn't discussed. The study smelled like cedar, sea breeze, and tension nobody wanted to name. Ethan stood near the window, jaw clenched, sleeves rolled to his elbows, veins tight like they were negotiating too. His white button-down looked wrinkled, which for Ethan meant he was officially unwell. I leaned against the desk, arms crossed, wearing a light blue silk camisole and cream linen trousers, the soft but serious outfit I always used when I needed to talk business without looking like an enemy. He ran a hand through his hair again. That was the 6th time. I counted because that's what you do when you love someone who's spiraling. You measure the damage. Ethan, I said gently, you're shutting me out. He didn't turn. I'm trying to think. You've been trying to think for 2 days, I countered, pushing off the desk. And your thinking looks a lot like self-destruction. Finally, he faced me, and oh, that look, the one that was equal parts exhaustion, frustration, and that sharp edge he only got in business mode. The version of him the world respected, feared, and never questioned. Except I wasn't the world. And I questioned everything. Noor, he said, voice low but firm, this merger isn't something I can afford to handle emotionally. And when, I fired back, did I ever ask you to handle it emotionally? I'm telling you to handle it intelligently. You're letting Keith get under your skin. Because he's sabotaging $1 billion deal. Ethan shouted before catching himself. He dragged a hand across his face. I'm sorry, I'm just tired. I know, I whispered. That's why you shouldn't be doing this alone. He took a step closer, eyes narrowing slightly, not in anger, but in that calculating way he did when he was trying to decide if something was a threat or a solution. And what exactly do you want to do, Noor? Help, I said simply. The same way I helped you navigate the Mexico contract. The same way you helped me navigate my stores. This is a partnership, personally and professionally. His breath hitched in that quiet, frustrated way he had when something made sense, but he didn't want it to. It's not that simple, he murmured. It is, I said, refusing to back down. You're choosing to make it complicated. He exhaled, turning away again. I don't want this stress touching you. Newsflash, I said dryly, it already has. You shut me out, and that hurts more than any business call ever could. He went quiet, too quiet, and that's when I knew the bone of contention wasn't Keith. It wasn't the merger. It wasn't even the company. It was us. Ethan, I said softly, walking toward him, talk to me. He didn't move, not even a twitch, so I touched his arm, and that broke everything. Don't, he whispered, stepping away not harsh but wounded. If you touch me right now, I'll forget everything I'm trying to focus on. My heart cracked clean in two. So I'm a distraction? I asked quietly. His silence was louder than any answer. I swallowed hard. Wow, okay. He winced. Noor, that's not... You said it without saying it, I cut in. You think leaning on me is a weakness. That's not fair. Neither is shutting me out. His jaw tightened again, and the space between us felt like a courtroom. I'm under pressure, he said. This merger is everything. If it falls apart, you'll build something else, I shot back. You're Ethan Ellison. You don't crumble. You rebuild. He finally met my eyes, and something in him flickered. Not anger, not frustration, fear. And I froze. This man wasn't scared of losing a merger. He was scared of losing control. Why can't you just let me carry this? He whispered, voice cracking just enough that my chest tightened. Why do you always have to step into the fire with me? Because, I said softly, I'm going to marry you, and marriage is standing in the fire together. He looked away again, shoulders tense, breath uneven, and then he spoke the sentence that sliced me open. I don't want you to get burned. I didn't respond at first because I needed to breathe through the ache in my throat. Then, and I don't want to watch you drown, I said quietly. But here we are. Silence. A long, painful silence. I stepped back, giving him space, even though my heart hated it. Do you trust me, Ethan? I asked. He didn't answer. That was answer enough. I nodded slowly. Okay. He flinched. Noor. No, it's fine, I said with a shaky smile. You don't have to explain. If you want to do this alone, do it alone. He stepped closer, one slow, regret-filled step. Noor, don't do that. Do what? I asked, voice trembling despite my Gen Z bravado. Respect your boundaries or match your energy? His jaw tightened. You're twisting it. I'm surviving it, I corrected. He went silent again, eyes stormy, hands on his hips, like he was holding himself together by force. Then his phone rang. The timing was evil. He looked at the caller ID. Keith. Of course. His shoulders sagged. I have to take this. Of course you do, I said, stepping aside. Noor, he tried again. Please, answer your call, Ethan. And because he was torn between love and obligation, he hesitated, but only for a second. He answered. I didn't stay for the conversation. I walked out of the study with my chin high, heart heavy, and pulse unsteady, because I wasn't sure which version of him I was competing with. Ethan the man, or Ethan the empire. And for the first time since loving him, I didn't know which one was winning. The door closed behind me. Noor's POV. Breakfast in the villa had become a ritual, one of those were a big happy family moments that Instagram would cry for. But this morning, something was different. Something humming under the surface, soft but sharp, like a violin string stretched too tight. The dining room glowed in the late Mykonos sun. White curtains fluttered, the sea breeze playing with them like they were part of some island fairy tale. The long wooden table was already covered with everything a Greek breakfast could dream of, fresh bread still warm, Greek yogurt drizzled with honey, fruits sliced like a painting, poached eggs, grilled halloumi, and enough orange juice to baptize the whole Ellison clan. Everyone was talking at once, laughing, updating each other, the kind of chaotic family noise that filled the walls and made the villa feel alive. Everyone except the two people holding the biggest secret at the table. I smoothed down my simple white sundress and put on the smile I had practiced in the mirror, the "everything is fine, absolutely no emotional hurricane here, thanks for asking" smile. Alma caught my hand as soon as I sat beside her. My beautiful Noor, she beamed, squeezing my fingers. You're glowing. Maybe it's love. She winked dramatically. Across the table, Ethan lifted his coffee cup without looking at me. He was sitting next to Bruce, not me. And that alone made every single person at that table pause for a millisecond, long enough for the tension to be noticeable. Gray raised an eyebrow. Amy narrowed her eyes like a detective. Gordon looked at Ethan, then at me, then at Ethan again like he was mentally drafting a fatherly threat. Chantel looked confused. Belle looked nosy. The twins whispered to each other like they already sensed drama, but I just smiled and passed my mom the honey. "Mom, you need to try this," I said sweetly. "It tastes like the sunshine here." Grace, poise, composure. Even though inside, a tiny Noor was throwing chairs. Ethan barely looked up. He was talking to Bruce's something about the merger, something about Keith, something business. His voice was low but tight. His jaw was working overtime. As Bruce nodded sympathetically, patting Ethan's back in that breathe way. I hated how much I wanted to be the one sitting beside him. "Darling," Amy said, turning toward me with her motherly warmth. "Did you sleep well?" "Perfectly," I lied with elegance and excellent posture. Ethan's spoon paused halfway to his mouth. "Fake it. Smile. Don't give the family a scandal to think about." Sarah slipped into the seat across from me, giving me that subtle, "You okay?" look. I gave her a tiny nod. She relaxed, slightly. The twins, Eli and Ellie, officially the cutest creatures God ever released to Earth, were fighting over who got the biggest slice of watermelon. "Mom, he took the bigger one," Ellie protested. "No, I didn't," Eli said with the straightest face known to mankind, even though he absolutely did. Belle sighed loudly. "You two share, or I'm taking both." They instantly began slicing the watermelon like it was a peace treaty. The room filled with laughter, the kind of laughter I wished I could fall into. As everyone chatted, Bruce reached across Ethan to grab the grapes, nearly elbowing him. Ethan mumbled something under his breath, then nudged him back jokingly. They shared a tiny laugh. 2 days ago, Ethan had been reaching for me like that. Today, it felt like we were planets, drifting too far apart. "Are you two fighting?" Chantel suddenly blurted out. I swear my soul left my body. Amy shot her a look that could incinerate a person. "Chantel." "What?" She shrugged. "They're sitting far apart. Obviously something happened." Gray cleared his throat loudly, like a warning cannon. Bruce froze mid-chew. Ethan went completely still. I smiled smiled like someone balancing a porcelain vase on her head. No, not at all. Ethan just wanted to talk business with Bruce this morning. Chantel blinked. "But you guys always sit together." "Chantel," Amy repeated, slower this time. Chantel pressed her lips together and focused aggressively on her croissant. Ethan finally looked at me, just for a second, and that hurt more than a long stare. It was the quick kind. The, "I'm thinking about you, but I don't know how to touch the fire" kind. His eyes softened, barely, but then he pulled back into himself. My dad leaned closer to my mum and whispered, not quietly at all, "Something is definitely off." My mum pinched his thigh. The table erupted into new conversations like everyone collectively decided to distract themselves, but their eyes kept drifting toward me and Ethan, like we were a Netflix series on pause. The twins suddenly broke into a loud argument about which city had better desserts, Paris or New York. Gordon took it upon himself to moderate the debate like he was the United Nations. Amy leaned into my ear. "Sweetheart, sure everything is all right?" The concern in her voice almost made me break. Almost. "Yes," I whispered. "Everything's fine." But she wasn't convinced. Mother radar. Impossible to fool. Across the table, Ethan ran his thumb across his bottom lip, deep in thought, expression unreadable. Bruce whispered something to him, and Ethan nodded distractedly. My heart twisted. I hated this distance. Hated pretending the night before hadn't left a bruise on something fragile between us. But I also knew pride was sitting between us like an uninvited guest. "Noor," Eli suddenly shouted, pulling me back to reality. "Can you braid Ellie's hair like yesterday? She looked like a princess." Ellie practically melted into a puddle of shyness. "Of course," I grinned, reaching across the table to pinch her cheek. "My little queen." She giggled. Gordon clapped his hands dramatically. "This house is too full of beauty. I can't handle it." Laughter rolled around the table again, warm and bright. Everyone talking, everyone eating, everyone bonding, everyone except the 2 people who used to talk telepathically across a room. Ethan didn't touch his toast. I didn't touch my coffee. At one point, his knee bumped mine under the table as he shifted. We both froze. He didn't move away. But he didn't stay either. That hesitation, God, it spoke louder than any argument. Then Gray asked him something about the merger, and Ethan leaned away, knee slipping from mine like the moment never happened. It felt like losing something twice. Toward the end of breakfast, Belle started talking about taking the twins to the beach later. My mum was raving about a dress she saw in a boutique. Amy was organizing a family photo, and my dad was telling a story about getting lost in a Santorini market. I laughed. I smiled. I nodded. I did everything Noor Ellison in the making was supposed to do. But underneath, a small ache sat stubbornly in my chest. When breakfast was nearly done, Ethan finally spoke directly to me for the first time. Noor. Just my name. Soft, careful, like he was touching porcelain again. I looked up. Yes? His eyes held mine for a beat too long. We should talk later. It wasn't a question. It wasn't a demand. It was a confession. Every person at the table suddenly found a reason to look anywhere except at us. Okay, I whispered. Later. He nodded. Then the moment snapped. Bruce clapped Ethan on the shoulder. The twins began fighting again. Alma started clearing plates, and Amy insisted we all take a walk outside. Everything returned to noise and warmth, except for Ethan and me. Our silence was the loudest thing at that table. And as breakfast ended, I had a sinking feeling. Later might finally be the moment everything either healed or everything cracked open. The suspense hung between us like a held breath, and the chapter closed right there, right in that unresolved space, where love waits, where pride fights, and where the next move could change everything. Noor's POV. January in Mykonos had never felt so warm. Not because of the actual weather, though, the island sun still kissed us gently even in winter, but because the villa had been filled with life for almost 2 months straight. Laughter bouncing off white stone walls, footsteps pattering across marble floors, suits and sundresses draped over every chair, the scent of Amy's jasmine perfume, and Alma's spiced tea blending in the hallways. But now, there was this subtle shift, this awareness, this bittersweet countdown humming through the Ellison villa like background music. 3 days until everyone returned to New York. 3 days until life snapped back to meetings, deadlines, travel schedules, cafe managers calling me at 6 a.m., Ethan's board summits, Bruce reporting on God knows what, Chantel's acting shoots, Amy's charity events, and 3 days until Ethan and I would be forced to stop pretending we were fine. The villa's living room was buzzing as we all gathered for a late afternoon relaxation. Snacks everywhere, half-empty glasses of lemonade, the twins sprawled across the carpet playing some complicated game involving marbles and shouting. My dad was on his 8th cup of Greek coffee, ranting about how he would miss the island more than he missed sanity in New York traffic. Alma rolled her eyes, fixing his collar as if he was a child. Gray was on the long couch, flipping through a newspaper he probably wasn't actually reading, just pretending so he didn't have to participate in Belle's chaos. Belle was talking loudly about her New Year resolutions, waving her hands dramatically. And I swear if Eli and Ellie don't behave this year, I'm selling them to a circus, she said. Mom, Ellie shrieked. Circus? Ethan repeated under his breath from the armchair beside Bruce. You might get sued. Bruce didn't look up from the magazine he was pretending to read. I'd buy tickets, though. Just saying. Ethan chuckled, softly, the first real laugh I'd heard from him in 2 days. It did something to me, something gentle and sharp at the same time. I sat between Chantel and Sarah on the couch, the 3 of us sharing a large bowl of grapes. Chantel leaned into me, whispering, New York is calling my name. I miss my closet, my bed, my hairstylist. You saw your hairstylist last week. On FaceTime, Sarah said. Anne, Chantel blinked. My hair misses her too. We burst into giggles. The room felt light again for a moment. Then Amy, who had been quietly reviewing her tablet like a CEO plotting world domination, suddenly clapped her hands. All right, everyone. Since we have only 3 days left on this beautiful island, I want us to talk through resolutions, plans, and most importantly, wedding and honeymoon thoughts. The whole room froze. My spoon stopped halfway to my mouth. Ethan's eyes drifted toward me, then snapped away just as quickly. Amy was smiling sweetly, but we all knew that smile meant she had an agenda. Better yet, she had a spreadsheet. Mom, Ethan groaned, leaning back, can we not start this now? Oh, darling, Amy waved him off. You're getting married. If we don't start now, who will? You two? Please. You can barely pick a restaurant for date night. Bruce snorted. Chantel covered her mouth. Even Gray looked amused. Amy continued, fully unbothered. We need a vision, a theme, a location, guest list, and don't get me started on the pre-wedding photos. Amy, I said softly. She turned to me with that motherly beam I was slowly growing addicted to. Yes, sweetheart. Maybe we should wait until we're back in New York? Planning a wedding from Mykonos might be. Oh, nonsense. I've planned a wedding from Italy, Dubai, and once from a private hospital room while Chantel was getting her tonsils removed. Chantel lifted a hand. Trauma. Amy ignored her. She tapped her screen. Now, Noor, honey, colors? I blinked. Colors? Wedding colors, of course. Are we thinking champagne tones? Ivory? Something bold like ruby? Please don't say green. Everybody does green. Before I could answer, Belle jumped in. Personally, I think Noor would shine in gold, my mom nodded. Or silver. She has that elegant, effortless sparkle. My dad added, what about rose gold? Trendy, but classy. Everyone was suddenly an expert. The only person who hadn't said a word was Ethan. He stared at the sea through the balcony doors, jaw clenched like he was holding back a storm. I felt that storm. I felt that distance. Amy turned toward him. Ethan, darling, what do you think? He didn't answer immediately. His voice finally came, low. Whatever Noor wants. The room went quiet, just for a second, because everyone heard the soft tension under his words. Chantel shifted. Gray folded his paper, watching closely. Amy's brows pinched. Sarah squeezed my hand discreetly. Before anyone could speak, Eli broke the silence by launching a marble across the floor. It hit Bruce's shoe. Bruce glared at it like the marble had personally offended his ancestors. The conversation resumed in scattered pieces. New Year resolutions. Gray wanting to cut back on work. Nobody believed him. Belle's plan to publish her cookbook. Ari promising to call her therapist more consistently. Sarah declaring she would take a real vacation this year. Alma swearing she would learn a new language. Greek, Gordon decided for her. We've been here 2 months, and you still call the waiter my brother because you can't pronounce his name. Alma clicked her tongue. He feels like my brother. Laughter erupted. And still, through all the joy, Ethan and I hovered around each other like 2 magnets turned the wrong way. We'd spoken earlier just a small talk. Light, careful, polite, the kind of conversation that said a lot by saying nothing, but it solved absolutely nothing. He was distant. I was overthinking. And the clock was ticking. Eventually, people drifted outside, taking in the ocean breeze. Belle and Alma helped Amy look at something on her tablet. The twins ran toward the pool like they were born in water. Chantel forced Sarah to take just one more picture for her Instagram. Bruce and Ethan stood on the balcony, talking in low voices. I watched them from the doorway. Ethan's shoulders were tense. Bruce looked concerned. And I could tell, without hearing a word, that they were talking about work and us. The sinking feeling inside me returned. I walked out to join them just as Bruce said, "You need to talk to her, man." Ethan's jaw tightened. I know. Bruce saw me and gave me a small nod before slipping away, leaving us alone in the fading Mykonos light. I leaned on the balcony railing. We should probably finish that conversation. He didn't move closer, but he didn't move away. Yeah, he said quietly, we should. We both stared out at the sea-blue waves crashing rhythmically, calm and endless, so opposite of what we felt. I don't want us to keep doing this, I whispered. Me neither, he replied, but no one said what this was. No one said who was right, who was wrong, or why we were suddenly on opposite sides of the same love. He exhaled. When we get back to New York, let's slow down. Talk properly, without the family, without the noise. I nodded, even though my chest tightened. Okay. His eyes softened like he wanted to reach for me, but he didn't. And that hurt. Before either of us could say more, Amy called us from inside. Ethan, Noor, come help me finalize the Mykonos departure schedule. Perfect timing or terrible timing, Amy Ellison would always find a way to interrupt emotional moments like a seasoned Netflix villain. We stepped inside, side by side but islands apart. And the chapter closed on that, the unresolved words, the love holding on by its fingertips, the drama humming beneath our breath. 3 days left. 3 days until everything in New York, forced us to face the truth. 3 days until something had to give. The afternoon light in Mykonos had that golden peach glow that made everything look like it had been dipped in honey. The wind was warm, the sky a flawless sheet of bright blue stretching to forever, and the entire villa buzzed like someone had sprinkled excitement over all of us like glitter. It was our last afternoon before everyone flew back to New York, and somehow, the family decided the perfect goodbye activity was skydiving. Don't ask me who suggested it. All I know is Bruce's eyes lit up like he was 5. Chantel shrieked, "Yes!" Amy Ellison clutched her chest like she was witnessing a miracle and a threat at the same time. And Ethan just smirked at me like he knew I'd pretend to be brave, then scream my lungs off at 14,000 feet. He wasn't wrong. We arrived at the skydiving center, all of us in casual clothes, hair up, sunglasses on, looking like the most chaotic luxury clan Mykonos had ever hosted. The twins, Eli and Ellie, ran ahead of everyone, cheering about who would scream louder. Belle swore she would sit this one out, but even she looked half tempted. The air smelled like sea salt and jet fuel, and the giant white plane sat on the runway like it had been waiting for us. My stomach flipped. Not butterflies, pterodactyls. As we signed forms, one of the instructors glanced at the last name Ellison, then at the entire crowd behind me. "Big family," he chuckled. "You have no idea," I muttered. The briefing started. Harnesses, safety measures, jumps, free fall speeds, a whole PowerPoint in real life. Ethan stood behind me, hands on my shoulders like he was anchoring me to the ground. "Still want to do this?" he murmured, voice low enough that only I heard. I refused to look afraid. "Pride is a disease in this family. I'm not backing out," I said. "If I fall to my death, at least I'll look cute doing it." He smirked. "I'll catch you." That's literally the one thing you can't do at 14,000 feet. Watch me. God, this man. We got fitted into our jumpsuits, mine navy blue, his black with a ridiculous white stripe across the chest, and as they tightened the harness around me, I swear my heart tried to pack its bags and leave through my throat. Chantel kept bouncing like she was born for this. Bruce bragged he'd done it before. Gray and Gordon tried to act like macho fathers, but looked like they were doing deep breathing exercises. Amy repeatedly whispered, "We're all going to survive. Yes, we are." Positive thinking. And then we boarded the plane. Inside, it was loud wind, metal, instructions being yelled. My hands shook. Ethan slid beside me, thigh pressed to mine, his palm warm on top of my trembling fingers. "You're good," he said. "Just breathe." I'm breathing. "That's hyperventilating." Same thing. He laughed, soft and low, the kind that made my chest loosen a little. The plane climbed higher. My ears popped. My focus narrowed to Ethan's thumb brushing over my knuckles, grounding me like a heartbeat I could feel through skin. When the instructor shouted, "First pair ready," Chantel and Bruce jumped like psychopaths. We heard their distant screams echo through the clouds. Then it was our turn. The door opened. A blast of cold wind punched into the plane. The world outside was endless blue, and the glittering Mykonos coast stretched beneath us like a postcard. My knees shook. "Ethan," I whispered. He leaned close, forehead almost touching mine. "I'm right here." The instructor hooked us together a tandem jump. His arms wrapped around me from behind, strong and steady. His chin brushed my shoulder. "You trust me?" he asked. "The most inconvenient truth in the world?" I did. I nodded. 1, 2, 3. We surged forward. The ground disappeared. Air roared past my ears. We were falling. The free fall hit like flying and dying at the same time. The wind screamed. My stomach dropped to the Aegean Sea. My hair whipped everywhere. I shrieked not out of fear, but out of pure wild adrenaline. Ethan's laugh rumbled behind me, warm against my back even through the suit. "Look down," he shouted. "I'm trying not to die." "You're flying, Noor?" So I looked. Mykonos stretched below us, whitewashed houses like sugar cubes, turquoise waters shimmering like molten glass, the world a breathtaking masterpiece. My fear melted into awe. Then the parachute burst open. Our bodies jerked upward, and suddenly everything slowed. The silence was unreal, just wind and ocean and the steady beat of my heart sinking with Ethan's against my spine. He loosened one arm to point. "Look, that's the hotel, and the villa, and that beach we walked on." His voice had a softness that hit deeper than the fall. "It's beautiful," I whispered. "You are." The words drifted through the air like a secret meant only for me. We descended gently toward the landing zone. The others already stood below, waving like maniacs. Eli and Ellie were chanting, "Aunt Noor! Uncle Ethan! You didn't die!" Charming children. We landed in a sprint, the instructor steadying us before unhooking the harness. My legs felt like noodles. My first breath on the ground felt like tasting life for the first time. Ethan turned me around and cupped my face, eyes warm, proud, soft in that way he reserved only for me. "You did it," he said. "You dragged me." He smiled. Semantics. Amy hugged us. Bruce clapped Ethan's back. Chantel screamed that she wanted to jump again. Gordon announced he'd never been so terrified in his life. Belle swore she had aged 10 years just watching. And me? I felt alive. Completely. Ridiculously alive. As the sun dipped lower, dipping the horizon in orange fire, I looked up at Ethan, my partner in chaos, in thrill, in fear, in life, and all I could think was, if falling feels like this with him, I'm ready for every freefall the future throws at us. The villa woke up like a beehive kicked open, doors slamming, suitcases rolling, voices overlapping, someone shouting about missing sunglasses, someone else asking where the chargers went. The whole place felt alive, buzzing with that departure day energy, excitement mixed with stress, nostalgia mixed with relief, the kind of mood that makes everyone a little louder than usual. I stood in the hallway, clutching my carry-on, watching the chaos unfold like it was a movie. Chantel speed-walked past me, dragging a suitcase 3 times her size, muttering, "I swear I packed this lighter." Eli and Ellie chased each other around the living room with leftover pastries like it was some kind of farewell Olympic sport. Belle yelled at them to behave while fixing her hair in the hallway mirror. Bruce tried to help Gray zip his suitcase, but the zipper refused to cooperate, and Amy was fussing over everyone like she was sending 50 children to summer camp. It was a lot. It was also painfully sweet. 7 weeks in Mykonos had bonded everyone in ways none of us expected. Sunrises, dinners, jokes, the engagement, the holiday magic, the skydiving insanity. Now, as everyone scrambled to pack, it felt like the island itself was trying to hold us a little longer. Ethan walked into the hallway, neat as always, his luggage already closed, tagged, and sitting by the front door like he had been packed since last night. Show off. "You've been standing there for 10 minutes, he said, sliding his thumb lightly along my arm. "I'm observing the corporate meltdown." He smirked. "It's a high-performance team exercise. Feels like a crisis management seminar." Same thing. He leaned in and kissed my forehead, quick, grounding, warm, before heading toward Bruce, who immediately started ranting about a missing power bank. So then, meanwhile, my parents, Alma and Gordon, were doing the formal rounds, the goodbyes, the gratitude, the thank you for everything speeches. Classic. I moved closer to listen. Amy Ellison held my mother's hands in hers, smiling with that soft elegance she carried so effortlessly. "Alma, truly, it has been a pleasure. You've raised such a wonderful daughter." My mother sparkled with pride. "And you've raised a gentleman. Thank you for hosting us." Gray and Gordon shook hands in that father-to-father way, all shoulder slaps and deep nods like they were finalizing a merger of hearts instead of corporations. "It's been an unforgettable holiday," my dad said. "We're glad you were part of it," Gray replied. "Any time you want to return, the villa is yours." My father smiled that rare, full smile he only reserved for moments that touched him deeply. "Thank you," he said, voice thick with sincerity. There were hugs, long, warm ones, because despite the luxury, despite the travel plans and private jet, waiting at the airport, this felt like family. A strange, chaotic, blended family, but a family nonetheless. As I watched them, something tugged in my chest. New York called to me, my cafes, my staff, my routines, my responsibilities. But Mykonos had given me something I didn't know I needed. A pause, a breath, a soft place to land. Still, a spark lit in me at the thought of returning. I missed the clatter of cups, the smell of roasted coffee beans, the sound of customers laughing or typing away. My cafes were more than work, they were my heartbeat, my independence, my pride. I was ready. "You're smiling," Ethan said from behind me, sliding an arm around my waist. "I can't wait to get back to my cafes." "I knew it," he murmured, brushing a kiss along the side of my head. "You've been dreaming of cappuccinos since Tuesday. Bold of you to assume I ever stopped." He laughed, low and soft, that sound that always wrapped around my ribs in the gentlest way. We all moved toward the front of the villa, the sunlight pouring in like warm honey. The view of the sea made the whole moment feel bittersweet, like Mykonos was saying goodbye in its own quiet language. The cars arrived to take us to the airport, sleek, black, and very Ellison-coded. The luggage was loaded, kids were wrangled, last-minute photos were taken. Bruce almost left his passport inside, and Amy nearly had a nervous breakdown. Finally, everyone piled into the cars. I ended up between Ethan and my mother, who kept whispering reminders about travel documents as if I hadn't triple-checked mine. The ride to the airport was filled with chatter, honeymoon predictions, baby jokes that made Ethan's jaw flex, wedding date suggestions Amy kept dropping like confetti. Belle talked about future plans for her twins. The men discussed business, because of course they did. And I just watched the island pass by the windows, white buildings. Cobalt domes, winding roads, the shining sea. The Mykonos private terminal was quiet and minimalistic, the air-conditioned breeze sweeping over us the second we stepped inside. The Ellison jet stood on the runway like a sleek white eagle, polished, elegant, and slightly intimidating. It had the Ellison crest near the tail and the kind of aura that whispered legacy. Inside, the jet smelled like leather seats, soft perfume, and cool air. The crew greeted us warmly, offering drinks, taking jackets, helping the older parents settle comfortably. I slid into a window seat and exhaled deeply, the tension releasing from my shoulders. Ethan sat beside me, stretching his arm along the back of my seat, his fingers brushing my shoulder. "Tired?" he asked. "A little, but also excited." "Same." He turned his head toward the rest of the family. "But we should probably create a seating chart next time. This is chaos. This is your family." I reminded him. He groaned quietly. I nudged his knee. "Don't pretend you don't love them." He sighed dramatically. "I tolerate them with affection." I laughed, leaning into him. He looked down at me with that soft, steady gaze, the one he never used on anyone else, the one that made me feel claimed in the quietest way. As the jet engines began to hum, the captain's voice came through the speakers, giving the usual takeoff briefing. The family settled in, seatbelts clicked, chatter slowed, and the mood shifted from chaotic to calm. My mother reached across the aisle to squeeze my hand. "Thank you for bringing us," she whispered. "It was Ethan's parents," I said. "It was both of you." Warmth pooled in my chest. Ethan looked over, his expression softening. "Ready to go home?" "Yes," I breathed. The jet began to move, rolling down the runway, picking up speed. Mykonos blurred outside the window, its blue and white palette streaking into soft watercolor. As the wheels lifted off the ground, I felt it, that gentle, hopeful shift. The end of a chapter. The start of another. New York waited for us. My cafes waited for me. Our life, messy, corporate, romantic, chaotic, waited to continue. I squeezed Ethan's hand. He squeezed back. And just like that, we left Mykonos behind, carrying the memories like sunlit jewels tucked deep in our hearts. The moment we stepped off the Ellison jet and into the chilled New York air, it hit me, the familiar weight of the city. The noise, the energy, the pulse. My chest tightened in the best way, like someone had opened a window and let the real world rush back in. The private terminal was quiet, polished, soft-lit, nothing like the commercial chaos outside its walls. The sliding doors opened, and waiting right there on the tarmac were 6 black Mercedes GLKs lined up in a perfect row like a luxury procession. Their engines hummed low, headlights cutting through the winter haze. New York wasn't just welcoming us home, it was rolling out a whole statement. Gray stepped forward first, nodding approvingly at the cars. "Home, sweet home," he murmured. Amy looped her arm through his. "I've missed this place, and I've missed our staff." Chantel stretched, flipping her hair back. "I've missed my wardrobe." Belle laughed. "You never packed enough." Chantel gasped. "Excuse me? I packed 3 whole suitcases." Ethan squeezed my hand, leaning in. "Ready?" "More than ready," I said, my grin stretching warm and wide. One by one, the drivers stepped out, dressed in identical black coats and gloves, moving with that quiet Ellison efficiency. The wind whipped around us, crisp enough to sting, but not enough to break the little bubble of warmth our group carried. The first GLK was pulled up for Amy, Gray, and Chantel. The driver opened the door, and Amy turned back for one last motherly sweep of the group. "Call when you arrive," she said, pointing at Ethan, "and don't pretend you're too busy." Yes, Mother, Ethan deadpanned. Gray gave Ethan a shoulder pat, one of those corporate father gestures that meant I'm proud of you but won't say it out loud. Chantel blew dramatic air kisses to everyone before sliding into her seat. The second GLK was for my parents. Alma and Gordon hugged Ethan first, like he was already their son. Thank you for everything, my mother said softly, squeezing his arm. Thank you for coming, Ethan replied, genuinely. When she hugged me, I felt my throat tighten. See you soon, my love, she whispered. We should do dinner this week, I said. Of course. My father kissed my forehead. We're proud of you. Those words hit deeper than I expected. The third GLK hours waited with its doors open, warm air spilling out like a quiet invitation. But before Ethan and I headed toward it, the rest of the goodbyes filled the air. Bruce walked toward his assigned GLK but stopped to pull me into a hug first. Try not to let CEO collateral damage over there stress you. He jerked a thumb at Ethan, who rolled his eyes. Bruce grinned at Ethan next. Lunch tomorrow? We'll see if I'm still alive, Ethan said dryly. You won't be, but text me anyway. The fourth GLK took Bruce, who waved out the window like a chaotic uncle. The fifth GLK was for Sarah and Ari. They hugged me like sisters who hadn't seen me in months, even though we had spent every waking hour together in Mykonos. We're coming to the manor tonight, Sarah said. Erie nodded. No arguments. I laughed. I wasn't going to argue. You looked like you were thinking about it, Sarah shot back. They climbed in, giggling like they were in high school. Their driver shook his head fondly before closing the door. The final GLK was for Belle and the twins. Eli and Ellie ran to hug me, nearly knocking me over. Can we visit the manor this weekend? Ellie asked. Yes, I said. Can we play in the indoor pool? Eli joined. Yes again. Can we? Belle grabbed both of them. Give her air, children. Belle hugged me next. Thank you for helping at the airport. Your family, I told her. Her eyes warmed. See you soon. When their door closed, the engines revved softly, and suddenly, the villa-sized Mykonos crowd had thinned into a quiet, wintry New York moment. Just Ethan and me. Just us. The city skyline stood in the distance like a steel crown, bold, tall, waiting. Ethan placed a hand on the small of my back. Let's go home. We slid into the warm leather interior of our GLK. The door closed, and the world softened. The driver pulled away smoothly, the other cars dispersing in different directions, creating a choreography of black Mercedes slipping into New York traffic. I leaned into Ethan, resting my head on his shoulder. My body loosened for the first time since we left the jet. It feels surreal being back, I murmured. Good surreal? The best kind. Snow dusted the sidewalks as we drove, city lights flickering against the windows. We passed familiar streets, coffee shops glowing with early customers, delivery trucks rumbling awake, people bundled in scarves rushing across crosswalks like they were late for life. New York never changed. And I loved her for it. You're quiet, Ethan said, thumb brushing lazy circles on my palm. I'm just thinking. About my cafes, the staff, the new branch, everything waiting for me. He lifted my hand to his lips and kissed it gently. You're going to kill it, he said, as always. A warmth spread through me, simple, grounding, intimate. Traffic slowed as we reached the outskirts of the estate district. The houses grew larger, the street quieter, the world softer. Snow on the lawns sparkled like a dusting of diamonds. The manor gates opened as we approached, tall, black, elegant, with the Ellison crest shining proudly in the center. The driver rolled in, tires crunching lightly through the snow. Home, real home, not the villa, not the hotel in Mykonos. The GLK pulled to a stop at the front steps. Staff rushed out, greeting us with welcome back as they unloaded our luggage. Ethan stepped out first, then turned to help me down, pulling me close by the waist as the cold kissed my cheeks. You good? He asked. I'm perfect. He kissed me slow, warm, grounding, the kind of kiss that felt like stepping out of chaos and into comfort. The rest of the family cars were long gone. The holiday noise was over. The winter silence wrapped around us like a soft blanket. Ready to start real life again? He whispered. I nodded, breath fogging in the cold. With you? Always. We walked into the manor, our manor side by side. And just like that, New York welcomed us home. The manor always softened at night. The chandeliers dimmed to a warm golden hush, the marble floors glowed under soft lamplight, and every hallway felt like a long-held breath. By the time the sun dipped and the house settled into its nightly rhythm, I was already padding around barefoot, waiting for my girls. When the front door opened at exactly 7:04 p.m., the warmth hit instantly. Sarah walked in first, fast, focused, holding 3 tote bags like she was negotiating a merger. Eerie followed behind with her soft smile and oversized pastel coat that made her look like a walking cloud. "My babies," I said, arms already open. Eerie hugged me first, squeezing tight. "We missed you." "You were with me in Mykonos," I reminded her. "Still missed you," she said dramatically. Sarah hugged me last, quick but warm, and gave me the look of someone about to run an entire operation. Which she absolutely was. "You look well-rested," she said, scanning my face like she was analyzing KPIs. Translation, "She wants us to work tonight," Irie whispered. Sarah didn't deny it. "We have deliverables. Let's optimize." I burst into laughter. "Please, come inside before you start drafting a proposal in the hallway." We moved to the living room, the softest lounge in the entire manor, where the couches swallowed you whole. A tray of snacks and fresh juice already waited on the center table because I'd told the staff ahead of time. "My girls are coming. I want comfort mode." Sarah instantly took the armchair nearest the lamp. Eerie curled onto the couch beside me, bringing her legs up. I passed them their drinks before taking my own. Sarah opened her notebook, pushed her glasses up her nose, and locked into CEO mode. "All right, Queen, we have 3 brand deals waiting for your green light." I leaned forward, kicking my feet like a child on Christmas Eve. "Tell me everything." Sarah flipped through sheets. First, the fashion house collaboration. They want you for a 3-month campaign, unique styling, video shoots, creative freedom. Okay, I said, pretending to be calm but buzzing internally. Second, the skincare line wants exclusivity. They love your Mykonos pictures. And third, I asked. She looked at me over the top of her glasses. Third is the big one. A coffee machine brand wants a partnership with Noor's Latte and Brew. A full rollout. Think billboards, airports, Times Square. I inhaled sharply. My heart thudded. My fingers tightened on my glass. "Times Square?" I whispered. "Times Square," Sarah repeated, smirking. I slapped her arm lightly. "Why didn't you start with that?" "Because I wanted you to be awake for the whole meeting," she said. Eerie giggled, leaning into me. "We told you the new branch would put you on the map." "I'm just trying to process it," I muttered. Sarah nodded. "And you're doing great." We shifted into planning mode. Next quarter, rollout timeline, styling concepts, my schedule, the new branch, everything that made my brain feel like a well-oiled engine again. Then Aerie slid into her part updates about the branch she handled. "The new branch exceeded opening week metrics," she said proudly. "We're already projecting profit stability in the first 2 months." "So basically," I said, "you're telling me my café is that girl." "Your café is the girl," she corrected. We all high-fived like children hyped on sugar. Hours slipped like silk. The manor stayed quiet except for our laughter and the soft shuffle of papers. By the time we wrapped up, it was almost 9 p.m. "We should go," Sarah said, packing her things with her usual precision. "Tomorrow is your comeback day. You need sleep," Eerie nodded. "She's right, and we need sleep too." We walked them to the door, me sandwiched between my girls like a warm hug stretched into human form. "Don't stress tomorrow," Sarah said, giving me one last squeeze. "You're built for this." "Call us if you need anything," Eerie added. "I will," I promised. When their GLK pulled away, I stood in the doorway for a moment, hugging myself against the cold breeze. My heart felt full swollen with purpose, excitement, and the sweet anticipation of routine. Tomorrow, back to work. Back to my life, back to the grind I loved. I closed the door and walked back into the warm glow of the manor. The house was quiet. Ethan was somewhere in the study, handling work or fighting with work the way only he could. We'd barely seen each other all evening. He'd kissed my forehead and disappeared with his tablet like the CEO phantom he was. I padded up the stairs and slipped into our bedroom. Soft lights, fresh sheets, lavender scent. Home. One of the housekeepers was in the walk-in closet, organizing my shoes by color gradient. She greeted me politely before continuing her pristine arrangement. I sat on the edge of the bed and scrolled through my phone, replying to emails, looking over some design files, checking messages from the branch managers. My eyes fluttered as I worked a happy kind of exhaustion. Then, crash. A sharp, violent shatter tore through the hallway. Glass, breaking. My entire body jerked. The housekeeper froze, eyes wide, hands midair. The sound had come from down the hall, from the study, from where Ethan was. My heart dropped straight through my ribs. For a moment my brain blanked, everything inside me thinned into pure instinct. I stood so fast my phone slid off my lap. The housekeeper stepped toward me. "Ma'am." "I'm okay," I said quickly, already moving toward the door. But my palms were sweating. My breath was high in my throat. The hallway felt eerily quiet as I stepped into it. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that meant whatever happened wasn't small. I walked slowly, every step heavier than the last, the carpet swallowing each footfall. Another soft sound, not glass, something else, slipped from the study. A rustle. A thud. Something that didn't belong. My heart thumped harder. Lights from the hallway spilled under the study door, painting a thin golden line across the floor. I reached the door, placed my hand on the knob, paused. Ethan never broke things. Ethan never lost control physically. So whatever happened in there, it wasn't normal. I swallowed hard. "Ethan," I whispered, not opening the door, just listening. No response. Only the faintest shift of movement inside. Something cold pricked the back of my neck. I curled my fingers tighter around the door handle, pulse racing with fear, curiosity, and a strange sense of dread. Then, another noise from inside. Low, heavy, not good. I inhaled shakily and pushed the door open. The sound splits the night like a bullet, sharp, clean, terrifying. Glass, breaking. It echoes down the hallway of the Ellison Manor, ricocheting off the marble like a scream with no throat. I freeze mid-step, my phone still glowing in my hand, the housekeeper's soft hum behind me from the closet. My heart punches upward, once, twice, like it's trying to evacuate the premises. That sound came from the study. Where Ethan is. Where Ethan has been holed up for the last hour, pacing through call after call, storm clouds gathering behind his eyes like they were waiting for permission to erupt. "Ma'am?" the housekeeper whispers, clutching a stack of folded shirts. I don't answer. My feet are already moving. I sprint. The corridor feels longer than usual, stretched by panic. My breath gets trapped somewhere between my ribs, and the quiet lamps along the wall glow too warm for how cold I suddenly feel. I reach the study. The door is half open. The light inside across Ethan's silhouette, broad shoulders hunched, one hand on his hip, the other clenched around his phone. There's glass on the floor, a whiskey tumbler shattered into shimmering, angry fragments that look like diamonds stabbed into the carpet. This isn't normal, Ethan. This isn't boardroom calm, Ethan. This is storm mode, Ethan. All steel and heat and stress. "Ethan," I whisper. He doesn't look at me at first. His jaw is tight, wired with fury he's trying and failing to control. His eyes are shadowed and sharp, pupils blown wide, like he's running on adrenaline and disaster. "Keith," he snaps into the phone, voice low and dangerous. "You have 30 seconds. Start talking." I step inside quietly, the way you approach an injured lion, not wanting to spook it but knowing it could still tear through bone. My gaze flicks to the floor. The glass wasn't dropped. It was thrown. Not at a wall, not at a desk, but at the ground like the force had nowhere else to go. Something bad happened. "Ethan," I say again, a little stronger. He finally glances at me. And God, his eyes. There's something in them I've never seen before. Something raw, something almost afraid. He turns slightly away from me and presses the phone on speaker. Keith's voice floods the room, trembling with stress. "Ethan, it's not just numbers anymore. This is intentional. Someone inside sabotaged the merger." My stomach drops so fast I feel nauseous. The merger. The Ellison Vanguard deal Ethan has been cultivating for months, the one his father finally signed off on, the one that would reshape the entire empire. "What do you mean sabotaged?" I blurt before I even realize I'm talking. Keith exhales shakily. "Unauthorized documents, leaked emails, fabricated invoices. Someone fed the other company internal data, real data." I look at Ethan, but his eyes are locked on the carpet like it insulted his ancestors. "Who?" he demands. There's a long, awful silence. Then, like Keith is scared of the words spilling out of his own mouth, "We think it's someone close to you." A slow, burning heat crawls up the back of my neck. "Close? Like how close?" Ethan asks, voice dropping to a quieter, deadlier register. Keith clears his throat. "Close enough that they had access to Noor's café numbers." My heart slams. What? It comes out high and breathless. There are invoices with your cafe's headers, Keith continues quickly. Transfers into accounts tied to the Ellison Vanguard documents. Noor, it's bad. My fingers go numb. What are you saying? I whisper, my voice cracking in the middle. Keith hesitates. We're not accusing you, but someone used your business paperwork as part of the sabotage. Ethan drags a hand down his face, the motion harsh, tired, shaking at the fingertips. Keith keeps talking, fast, frantic. I'm sending files to Ethan now. We need to verify everything. The board wants a full investigation. I step closer to Ethan. Tell me you don't think I did this. The study goes quiet, too quiet. Ethan's shoulders tense, his throat bobs as he swallows, his hands shake slightly as he picks up the papers on his desk. He looks at me finally, and the air between us cracks. Noor, he says softly, carefully, like stepping onto thin ice. I'm not saying anything, not until we understand what's going on. The way he says it hurts more than if he'd screamed. You think I'd risk your entire company? My voice breaks. I hate that it breaks, but it does. You think I'd drag you into chaos? You think I'd betray you? He flinches, not like he's angry, but like the truth is hitting him harder than he expected. I don't want to think anything. He steps toward me, then stops halfway, conflict etched across every line of his face. But the documents are in your cafe's name, Noor. They're under your brand. They were printed using your business credentials. My heart is pounding so loud I barely hear myself say, I didn't do this. He whispers almost too quietly, I want to believe you. Want. Not do. It slices through me like a cold knife. I shake my head, tears burning behind my eyes. This is exactly what people want, Ethan. They want us divided. They want you doubting me. Isn't that obvious? He looks away, and something inside me fractures for real. Not like the glass, like something deeper, quieter, more painful. Keith's voice suddenly interrupts. Ethan, I have to go. The board is demanding answers. I'll call back. The line clicks dead. Ethan stands there silent. I stand there silent. The broken glass is the only thing sparkling between us. I take a breath, shaky, trembling, but mine. Ethan, look at me. He does, slowly, hesitantly, like he's afraid of what he'll see. I have never betrayed you, I say softly. Not in business, not in life, not in anything. His eyes flicker hope, fear, exhaustion. I know you've been hurt before, I whisper. Used, lied to, taken advantage of, but I'm not them. He closes his eyes, letting out a breath that sounds like surrender and frustration tangled together. I'm trying, Noor, he says. I'm trying to stay rational, but my entire company is on fire. Everything I've built is collapsing in slow motion, and someone used your name to light the match. The words hang heavy in the air. He steps back from me, like he needs distance, like he needs space to breathe. The rejection is small, subtle, but it hits like a punch. Silence fills the room again, thicker than smoke. Finally, he says, barely audible, I just need clarity. The sentence is a scalpel, sharp, precise, cutting me clean open. I nod slowly. Okay. But inside something feels scorched. I turn and walk toward the door. He doesn't stop me, doesn't call my name, doesn't reach for me. The soft sound of my footsteps feels louder than the broken glass. As I step out, I whisper not to him, but to the empty hallway. Then I'll find the truth, even if it hurts both of us. I close the study door gently. Behind it, I hear Ethan's breath hitch just once. The house goes quiet again. Too quiet. Dangerously quiet. The kind of quiet that comes right before everything explodes. Noor's POV. I don't know how long I've been under this desk. Seconds? Minutes? Hours? Time isn't real anymore. Just my heartbeat, loud, chaotic, trying to kick its way out of my chest like it's begging me to run even though my legs can't move. The sirens outside the office windows keep screaming, echoing through the building, mixing with the alarms from downstairs. The fire system blinks red over my head, and every flicker feels like it could be my last chance to see anything familiar. My hands are shaking so badly I'm holding them against my chest just so they don't make noise. I keep whispering the same thing in my head over and over again like a broken prayer. Please, God. Please, not like this. Please protect me. Please let Ethan find me. Please let me live. I tuck my knees in tighter, trying to make myself smaller, tighter, invisible. My cheek is pressed against the cold floor. Tears drip from my eyelashes onto the wood and slide down into the carpet fibers under my knees. I've never been this scared. Not when my father lost his business. Not when the world judged me for loving someone powerful. Not even when Ethan questioned me last night and my heart cracked wide open. This is different. This is life and death. This is me, alone, hidden, praying the footsteps don't come back. But they do. I hear them. Heavy boots, more than one pair, 2, maybe 3. Their steps are slow, confident, rehearsed, not panicked like customers running, not confused like police looking for injured people. These are deliberate, these are searching, these are coming for something or someone. My chest tightens until I can't breathe. One of the boots stops right outside my office, then another. I slam my hand over my mouth to keep the sob in. A deep male voice speaks, muffled through the door. She's in here. My blood turns to ice. No, 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 please. Another voice answers, rougher, colder. Get her. I close my eyes so tightly my eyelashes stick together. My heart feels like it's splitting veins. The doorknob turns, twists, slams. The office door bursts open so violently that the wall shakes and a framed certificate falls to the ground. The footsteps rush in fast, deliberate, zero hesitation, and before I can even think to crawl deeper under the desk, a large hand grabs my ankle. I scream, or I think I scream. The sound barely leaves my throat. No, please, please, I gasp, kicking instinctively, but the hand clamps harder, yanking me out from under the desk like I weigh nothing. I slide across the floor, nails scraping uselessly against the wood as they drag me out into the open. My hair snags on the desk leg, and tears rip in my scalp, forcing another cry to break out of me. Let me go, please. I didn't. I'm not. A second man appears, tall and built like someone who lifts metal for fun. His face is covered from the nose down, only his dark eyes showing blank, calculating, indifferent to the fear drowning me. Don't fight, he says. Not angry, not annoyed, just a command. A third man steps forward, and before I can even gather breath to scream again, he whips a black sack over my head. Darkness swallows me whole. It smells like dust and sweat. It's suffocating, blinding, wrong. No, stop, please. My voice cracks. I can't breathe. My heart is sprinting. Please let me go, please, I won't please. Rough hands grab my wrists and yank them behind my back. Something cold zip ties tightens around them so fast and hard I gasp. Pain shoots through my arms. Then someone grips my waist and lifts me off the ground like I'm cargo. My legs kick at air, useless, desperate. Please. I cry into the sack, tears soaking the fabric. Don't hurt me, please, oh God. No response, no mercy, no hesitation. They carry me out of my office like I'm just another item to transport. My shoulder bumps against the wall, then the railing, then a door frame. Each hit stings through my bones, but fear numbs everything else. The smell changes from wood polish to the metallic tang of the staircase. I hear distant crying, screams, someone yelling help, but everything feels far away, like I'm underwater drowning in my own panic. My feet hit the ground again. Move, one of them orders. A hand grabs the back of my neck to steer me like an object, not a human being. I can't see, please, I choke out. You don't need to, he mutters. A cold breeze hits my ankles, outside. They're taking me outside. My legs buckle, but someone shoves me forward, forcing me to walk. Gravel crunches under my heels. The street air fills my lungs, but it doesn't help. My breathing is still sharp, broken, shallow. Somewhere to my left, I hear sirens. Somewhere far behind, someone is shouting. The world is chaos. But these men, they move in eerie silence. A car door opens. I'm pushed forward again, stumbling. No, please, please don't. My words disappear into the sack as someone grabs the back of my thighs and lifts me into the vehicle. I fall onto what feels like a leather seat. The door slams shut, trapping me in darkness. Hands hold me down from either side. The car engine starts. And that sound, that rumbling ignition, is the moment I know I'm officially gone. Kidnapped, abducted, taken. My tears come faster, soaking my cheeks, running into my mouth. I try to control my breathing, but each inhale is a choke, each exhale a sob. Please, please tell me what you want, I whisper through the fabric, my voice trembling so hard the words barely form. I have money, my fiancé, he can pay, please don't hurt me, please just... Quiet, one of them snaps. I flinch hard, shrinking into myself, heart racing like a trapped animal. My wrists throb painfully behind me. My fingers are numb from how tight the zip ties are. I try to shift, but a hand presses on my shoulder, warning me. The car speeds up, a turn, Another turn. My body sways with each movement. I can't see anything. I don't know where they're taking me. I don't know if I'll make it back, and that thought hits me like a punch. I might die today. I press my tied hands deeper into my lower back, swallowing a sob so intense it burns. If this is it, if this is how my story ends, I didn't even get to tell Ethan I forgave him. I didn't get to tell my parents goodbye. I didn't get to reopen my cafes the way I dreamed. I didn't get to marry the man I love. I didn't get to build the life I promised myself. Please, I whisper again, voice broken now, barely human. Please don't kill me. No answer, just the sound of the tires roaring across asphalt. I try to focus on breathing, but every inhale is panic. Every exhale is fear. The darkness under the sack feels like it's closing in on me, shrinking, smothering. My pulse is hammering against my neck so violently it hurts. My vision swims inside the black fabric. My throat feels raw from crying. I shift slightly, desperate, terrified. Don't move, the man on my left warns coldly. I freeze instantly, fear slicing through me like ice. I'm shaking uncontrollably now, my entire body trembling with shock. Tears keep pouring. My nose is stuffed, my breathing erratic, my chest in constant spasms. God, please. I sob softly into the sack. Please let me live. Please let me go home. My words dissolve into the darkness unanswered. Outside, the city noise fades. The road gets quieter, smoother, lonely. They're taking me far, far enough that no one will find me quickly. The car keeps moving, and I keep trembling, tied up in the back seat, covered in darkness, praying with every breath that this isn't my last day on earth. My heart aches suddenly, violently. Ethan, he has no idea. He has no idea I'm gone. He has no idea how close he is to losing me forever. A single broken thought fills my mind. Please find me before they do something worse. The car drives on. The darkness doesn't lift. The fear doesn't fade. And the chapter ends. Ethan's POV. The call comes in at 10:14 a.m. I'm in my father's office, pretending to focus on a merger proposal while my brain is still replaying last night, Noor's quiet voice, the soft tremor when she tried to pull me closer, and the way I pushed her away because I couldn't deal with my own storm. Then my phone lights up. Gideon urgent. I answer, expecting a routine update. What I get instead feels like a nuclear detonation detonating behind my ribs. Sir, there's been a situation, his voice shreds. Gunshots, hostile takeover at the new branch. Noor is, she's not here. We can't find her. She's missing. For a second, I don't breathe. I don't blink. I don't exist. Everything goes silent. Then the world slams back into motion, violent and merciless. What do you mean missing? My voice comes out like a blade, low, cold, dangerous, the kind of tone I reserve for men who forget who I am. It was coordinated. Gideon rushes. Not random. Sir, this was a kidnapping. The entire villa feels like it tilts. Noor, gunshots. Kidnapped. My Noor, the woman I promised to protect. The woman I failed in the most catastrophic, unforgivable way. I don't remember sprinting to the living room, but suddenly I'm there and the entire family is staring at me. Gordon, Alma, Amy, Gray, Bruce, Chantel, Belle, the twins near tears. A room full of people who love Noor, and I'm the one holding the bomb. What happened? Alma asks, her voice already breaking like she knows the answer will destroy her. Where is Noor? Chantel whispers. I swallow, but my throat is gravel. There's no soft way to say it. And Noor deserves the truth spoken out loud, not hidden under some corporate PR blanket. There was an attack. The words come out flat. Dead. Noor is missing. Amy gasps like someone stabbed her. Gray grips the back of the sofa so hard the wood cracks. The twins start crying, those small, high, frightened cries kids make when they don't understand but know it's bad. Gordon's legs buckle, but Alma screams. It's raw, sharp, animalistic, a mother's heart tearing itself open. She collapses and Gray lunges to catch her before she hits the marble floor. The room devolves into chaos, shouting, crying, questions thrown like knives. But I'm frozen in place, because all I can hear is Noor's laugh, her voice, her heartbeat against my chest when she sleeps, her soft, Ethan, come home early tomorrow, okay? Last night, the one I brushed off because I was too busy shutting her out. And now she's gone. Bruce steps into my line of sight, gripping my shoulders hard enough to bruise. Ethan, his voice is stern, grounding. Look at me. I do, barely. We will find her, he says, but you need to stay focused. I nod, but it's robotic, because my brain is screaming like a siren. This is your fault. I step away, forcing myself to breathe, to think. Emotions are flames. Strategy is water. I need water right now. Gideon, I bark into the phone. Lock down all branches. Lock down the manor. No one gets in or out unless I approve it. Yes, sir, and pull every camera feed within a 10-mile radius of the branch. I want all footage, traffic lights, gas stations, ATMs, street cams, everything. Yes, sir. Send the team to sweep the scene. I want bullet casings, tire tracks, fingerprints, anything. Yes, sir. And Gideon, my voice cracks just a fraction. Find me something. Anything. On it. The call ends. Behind me, Alma is still unconscious. Amy sits on the floor holding her hand, praying under her breath. The twins cling to Belle. Chantel cries silently. Gordon stares at the wall like his soul has left his body. And I'm standing dead center. The eye of the storm, the person they're all looking at. The man who should have been with Noor and wasn't. I walk into the study and slam the door shut so hard the frame shakes. Then I make the call that terrifies even me. My father's private line. Gray answers on the first ring. Ethan, I'd everything, I say. Every contact, every resource, every back channel, illegal or not, I don't care. Gray doesn't argue, doesn't hesitate, doesn't moralize. Done. Because when it comes to Noor, the Ellisons don't have lines. We erase them. Hours pass like slow torture. Police reports, security updates, satellite pings, dead ends. By late afternoon, the house feels like a war room. Maps pinned to the walls, laptops open, phones ringing nonstop, everyone tense, exhausted, terrified. I sit on the study couch, elbows on my knees, head in my hands. Bruce stands beside me like a guard dog. My father commands the room with military precision. Gordon looks 10 years older. The women are gathered in the living room praying in cycles. Every passing hour, Noor isn't found, feels like a countdown to something catastrophic. At 7:54 p.m., my private investigator calls. When I answer, his tone already tells me this will ruin me. Ethan, he says carefully, we found something. It's urgent. Say it. A long pause. A deadly pause. Keith owes money to a mafia clan. My breath stops. He couldn't pay, so he used Noor as collateral. Something inside me fractures, then shatters entirely. I stand up so fast the chair skids across the floor. What did you just say? He offered her to them as leverage. They took her the moment they realized you were in the middle of a merger. They're using her to force your hand. The world goes blood red. I don't think. I react. I throw the phone across the room with so much force it smashes into the bookcase, exploding into shards. Bruce flinches. Gray goes silent. Amy gasps from the hallway. But I'm already gone. Mentally, emotionally, morally. A part of me breaks in a way that won't heal. I scream. A harsh, primal sound that rips out of my chest before I can stop it. Everyone hears it. Everyone feels it. The room freezes. Then I grab my keys off the desk. Ethan, Bruce calls. But I'm already moving. I storm out of the study, down the stairs, past the living room full of devastated faces, past the prayers, the fear, the grief. I don't stop. I don't speak. I don't breathe. I walk straight into the night air, cold and sharp, like it's trying to slice me open. My SUV is parked at the end of the driveway, dark blue, tinted windows, built like a beast. My father bought it for me 2 years ago with a quiet for emergencies. Well, here we are. I yank the door open, slide in, and the engine roars awake like it knows it's about to taste blood. As I grab the steering wheel, my phone buzzes from the console, the backup one I always carry. A text lights up the screen. Keith is at his house, alone. Perfect. I gun the engine, gravel spits behind me, the gates open, the night swallows me whole, and I don't care if I burn the entire damn city down. I'm gonna find Noor, and God help Keith. Because I won't. Ethan's POV. Keith's house sits at the end of a quiet cul-de-sac, small, modern, almost sterile. The kind of place someone buys when they want to look put together, but their soul is already falling apart. I park my SUV so hard the tires scream against the pavement. The engine barely shuts off before I'm out of the car, slamming the door behind me with enough force to rattle the frame. My heartbeat isn't just loud, it's seismic. My pulse is a war drum. This man, this idiot, this coward. He used my Noor as collateral in his gambling with the mafia. I push the gate and it swings open effortlessly. Minimal security, minimal sense, maximal stupidity. Typical Keith. I don't knock. I don't call his name. I don't give him the courtesy of warning. I barge straight through his front door. It smacks hard against the wall behind it, leaving a dent he honestly deserves. Keith jumps up from his couch like he's seen a ghost. Too bad. I'm not a ghost. I'm his nightmare. Ethan, I don't let him finish. I cross the room in 3 steps, grab his shirt collar, and send a brutal punch straight to his jaw. He hits the floor hard, groaning, hand flying to his face. You fucking idiot, I roar, every word sharp enough to slice him open. You used my fiancé as collateral? His security, the only 2 men he employs because apparently he thinks the world is soft, rush forward and grab my arms. Get your hands off me, I bark, and they hesitate, looking at Keith. Let him go, Keith coughs, spitting a little blood. The moment their grip loosens, I lunge again, grabbing Keith's shirt and pulling him upright like he weighs nothing. He stumbles, eyes wide, terrified. Good. Fear looks honest on him. What the actual fuck is wrong with you? I snarl, face inches from his. Why would you drag Noor into your bullshit? Why would you put her life on the line for your pathetic debts? It's not like that, he stammers. I slam him against the wall. The picture frame beside us crashes to the floor. Shut up, I snap. I'm not here for your excuses. He's shaking now, actually shaking. You needed more money for the merger and it was absurd. Completely irrational, I spit out. You kept pushing and dodging questions and making excuses, and now I know why. He opens his mouth. I see another excuse forming. I punch the wall beside his head, hard cracking the plaster. He flinches violently. You don't get to speak, I warn. Not after what you did. I didn't think they'd, he starts. Don't. My voice is a snarl. Don't you dare say you didn't think. You didn't think at all. You gambled with Noor's life. His eyes brim with tears, but I feel nothing. No pity, no softness, no understanding. Just rage. Clean, focused, lethal. Keith wipes his mouth, voice trembling. Ethan, I swear I was going to fix it. I didn't plan for this. That's your excuse? I bark out a humorless laugh, sharp, cold, unhinged. That's your flimsy, pathetic, unbelievable excuse? He swallows, his throat bobs like he's trying not to vomit. I thought I'd get the money back before anything happened. I thought. You thought wrong, I interrupt, stepping closer. You've put Noor in danger. You've involved my family. You've ignited a war you're not strong enough to survive. I'm sorry. Don't insult me, I snap. You're not sorry. You're scared, and you should be. His security shifts uneasily behind me, watching every move I make. They're not going to jump me again. They know if they do, I'll floor them before they touch me. I stare Keith dead in the eyes, the broken, cowardly eyes of a man who can't even own his sins. You used my fiancée as leverage. The words taste like fire in my mouth. Noor was supposed to be safe. She trusted you. I trusted you with part of my company, and you rewarded that trust by selling her off like she's a bargaining chip you found on the street. Keith starts crying. Actual tears. And instead of softening me, it makes me angrier. You think crying will fix this? I ask quietly, dangerously. You think tears will bring Noor home? You think regret will undo what you did? Ethan, please. There is no please. There is no forgiveness. Only consequences. He breaks. I didn't mean for this. And yet you did it, I cut in. You did it with full intention. Don't hide behind accidents and fear. Own your monstrosity. I grab his chin, forcing him to look at me. This is not over, Keith. His breath stutters. You hear me? I continue. This, I gesture around the room to his trembling body, to the blood on his lip, is just the prologue, the appetizer. He nods frantically. Watch your back, I say, stepping away and straightening my jacket. Because what's coming for you isn't slow, it's not gentle, and it's not something you can hide from. Ethan, you made a deal with a mafia clan, I remind him coldly, but you forgot something. I lean in one last time, my voice low, lethal, absolute. I'm more dangerous than they are. He shivers. Good. I walk toward the door without looking back. His security steps aside like the walls themselves parting for a storm. Just before I leave, I turn my head slightly, just enough for him to see the promise in my eyes. This is not over. Then I slam the door behind me. The night air hits my face, cold and sharp, and for the first time since Noor disappeared, I feel something other than rage. Purpose. Focus. War. I climb into my SUV, start the engine, and drive off. Not aimlessly, not blindly, but with one mission. Bring Noor home. And burn down every man who stands in my way.